Yeah. I'm in the sexiest place in Oxford. Again. Hospital porters, pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Panwo TV. And here I am in this sexiest place in Oxford. I'm not actually staying here, much as I'd like to. I'm actually heading for the coach station again. Now, last time I was in Oxford, in the city centre of Oxford, and I was heading for the coach station, and I spoke to you guys. I was actually on my way to see Professor Karen Douglas live at the Greenwich Skeptics in the pub. And now I'm going somewhere very different. I'm actually going to Wales. Yes, and of course, I come from Wales, don't I? With a name like Emlyn Jones, I could hardly be a Scotsman, could I? So I'm going back to Wales. I'm heading back home to my homeland. I'm going back to my roots, as a song by Odyssey goes. And I'm going by coach. I'm not going by train. I can't stand a bloody train. So I'm going to go by coach to Wales. Takes longer than a train, but it's infinitely less stressful. So I'm heading for the coach station now. Now, why am I going to South Wales? Well, it's not for any patriotic instincts. I'm actually going there because I want to interview a UFO witness. This is someone I've spoken to before. If you listen to her Panmo radio, you will know this. I'm just going to show you Brasenose Lane, because it's quite nice actually, if you like the touristy stuff. It's someone I've spoken to before. If you listen regularly to her Panmo radio, you will know that I did an interview with someone called Kaz Clark, and along with her I also interviewed somebody called Gary Jones, who's with the Swansea UFO network. Now, the reason is that Kaz Clark actually had a very interesting experience in 2016, and that's what we're going to talk about when I see her. I'm going to interview her. She's going to tell us about her experience, and we're going to visit the locations where she had her experience, and also some other interesting places as well, such as an area nearby, which leads me to think that this UFO event is highly significant. I think we're looking at a CE2 possible crash retrieval. I'm not exaggerating. This could be the Welsh Roswell. I mean, people call Bedouin Mountains the Welsh Roswell. It's not, because there was no crash retrieval. But this could be it. It's the other end of Wales we're going this time. Not North Wales, but South Wales. We're going to the valleys north of Cardiff, and a little town called Pentyrch, or village just outside Cardiff, our nation's capital. So, well, I'm quite interested to find out what is going to happen. I know the story because I've spoken to Kaz. I interviewed her and Gary for her Panmo radio. There'll be a link in the description box to the podcast of that particular show, so do check that out. But I've not actually met her before. I had an opportunity to meet her at the UFO Academy, couldn't go. The Cornwall UFO group, I couldn't get to that either. So this is the first time I've actually met Kaz face to face, which would be nice. I've spoken to her many times on Tinternet, but it'd be nice to actually meet her face to face. So I'm heading for South Wales. It's going to be because it's such a long journey. I'm actually staying overnight. It's quite a long way, so I'm staying overnight in a hotel. So it's actually tomorrow I'm meeting her, and I'm going back the next day. That is Sunday. Today's Friday. So it's kind of a long 3-day trip altogether. And if you're going that far and you don't have a car, there's no other option really. So, well, that'll be fun. It'll give me a chance to relax, do some reading, take some time out from writing the book, which I don't really want to do, but I really want to do this as well. So, well, maybe, I don't know, a few days won't make any difference to the book. Now, the weather looks very nice at the moment. We've got blue sky, no chemtrails, just a few clouds, but the actual forecast is appalling. And I did say to Kaz a couple of weeks ago, pray for nice weather, and she said, oh, it doesn't make any difference really. It doesn't. Come on, let's face it, we'll make the best of it. I mean, honestly, who goes to South Wales to top up their suntan? You know, we have to expect bad weather in November in that part of the world. So we're going to go there. It's going to be windy, it's going to be quite wet, but what the hell? Still want to make the best of it, show you the places where this event happened. I do believe it did happen. There's several people who think otherwise, and I'll be addressing their arguments in the course of this video. So My goodness, they're getting the Christmas decorations out already. How about that? Anyway, let us proceed. Let us get our ass to Wales. Get your ass to Wales. Okay, just leaving Oxford now. Be back on Sunday night, I hope. And it's starting to cloud over already. That there's the London coach, the Oxford Tube. That's the one I took when I went to see Karen Douglas in London. Here we go. We're off. Okay, I'll just show you where we're going now. And I don't unfortunately have a Land Ranger, Ordnance Survey Land Ranger map like I normally do. I didn't get one. Oversight on my part. We're going here, and I'm using here the Cardiff Newport A to Z Street Atlas, and I'll show you the general area we're in. Now, where this drama took place is in South Wales here, and it's all the whole area is covered by this map, luckily. Now, one of those places is here, Pentyrch. This is where the whole event was centred, which is just north of our nation's capital, Cardiff. Now, it wasn't just Pentyrch I'm going to go and look at though, because Pentyrch is like where it was all centred, but there was another event. Well, the event was played out in several different places. Another is over here at Llantrysant. So let's have a look at these various places. So let's go to have a look at Pentyrch, 6869. Page 68, sorry, 16, what was it? 68 and 69, yes it is. Right, here we go. I love maps, I just love them, they're just such great fun. Right, so Pentyrch is there, it's this little village here. And as you can see now, the X is not where the event happened, the X is where I'm supposed to meet Kaz. But the event happened in this village here, and I don't know exactly the exact spot here, but it's in this area. We're going to show you it's in the area around this village here. And we're also going to go to another area which is called Smalloak Woods, and that's here on page 4041. It's north of Llantrysant, so 4041. And here we are. It's here in the Pentyrch district. And this business estate, this large business estate, or this industrial estate here, includes, as you can see here, the Royal Mint. And that will become very, very interesting because it's Llantrysant Business Park, because the Royal Mint has come up in the investigation of another researcher into this event. Now, this here is the Royal Glamorgan Hospital, which whose name you'll hear mentioned a few times, because this is a large teaching hospital near where the event happened. Now, to get to the actual location where there's something else strange I want to look at, you see, you go to this place, and it's Mile D, and this forest here, which is called Smalloak Woods, and it is in this forest here that there is more evidence of something strange happening, very directly related to what happened over in Pentyrch. So, well, there's nothing we can do now, I think, except go to the location and see for ourselves. Like this is Swindon. This is Swindon bus station. Swindon's quite a grand place, actually. I wonder if we'll see Sargon of Akkad. I know he lives here. I actually came to Swindon. When was it? 2011. It was the Weird 11 conference, I remember. And it was a good conference, actually. Unfortunately, it was the conference that cost me my job. I've made another video about that, which you're going to find. I'll just wait here for a moment and I'm going to head off on the next stage of our journey. It's about 10:30 now, I've been driving for an hour. I'm actually in Bath right now. Absolutely beautiful place. Yes. Isn't that lovely? I've been here a couple of times. I don't know if you remember the ARC convention. There were only ever two of them, and I went to one of them. It was so good. I was so good. That was in the good old pre-troll days, where everyone just got along. It was really wonderful. This is one of the most loveliest places I've ever been to, actually, Bath. Really, really delightful. The architecture, yeah, and the energy of the place is lovely. I don't know if you remember my one of my first Boudica moments, actually, was doing my Roman baths videos. You remember that? We've
can actually see that. I might re-edit it actually because it was a really good one. But of course there's a natural hot spring here, and it was turned into a huge swimming pool-like facility by the Romans. Be over there, I think. Yeah. It may not be far from that actually. In fact, this looks like the square near the railway station. It's amazing how these things come back to you, isn't it? Yeah. That's the cathedral.
Oh, we're in Bristol now. This is just outside the coach station in Bristol. I've got waiting here till 2:20 now for my next coach, which will take me to Cardiff and get me there about 4 p.m. There's a lot of it's a big noisy place. I hope you can hear me alright. I'll try and go somewhere a bit quieter. Big buildings, that's bigger than Oxford. That's a big Premier Inn, isn't it? Yeah, so quite something, isn't it? It's a bit of a kind of bohemian place, Bristol. Now, I've been to Bristol a couple of times. I mean, I've got family that live here. My dad actually comes from Bristol. He's from a Bristol Welsh family. I don't know if you can hear me. There's a bit of a wind. There may be wind on the mic. As I was saying, I've got friends who live in Bristol. There's a Chinese cafe, all shut. Try and go somewhere out the wind because you probably can't hear me very well. Oh, there's even more wind in here. It's all dark in this. Oh, it's all dark wind in here. Oh, anyway, yeah, I don't know if you can see me all right. Let's just see. Yeah, like I said, my dad's from a Bristol Welsh family, so he grew up around here. He lived in Red Hill and Downend, I think he lived for most of the time, wherever that is. I've got family that still live here. But I came here to the AV3 conference. That's Ian R. Crane's third alternative view conference. And what's more, there's another one. I think he's on about AV10 now. I haven't been to one since AV4. I'd love to go to them. I keep meaning to find time to go, and I never do. But yeah, we're sort of. I'm just having a break here, and I'm getting another coach at 2:20. There's a strange area. As I said, it's quite bohemian. You can see from these murals. But Bristol is one of the few places, actually, in the world where it's very Japan-esque because of a subject I brought up on a previous video, and that is zombies. Bristol City Council has a contingency plan for dealing with zombies. And if you don't believe me, watch my video, Zombies 2015. Because real Zombies 2015, yeah, I'll tell you, it may give you nightmares. But this city has a contingency plan for zombies. They have it very well organised. It's all very, it's not just a joke. When I first heard about it, I thought it was some kind of April Fool's joke, but it wasn't. It's real. Very strange indeed. They have zombie alert statuses, zombie training, anti-zombie weapons and things like that. Some of the staff are trained to use anti-zombie weapons. I mean, what's going on? Oh, watch my video, Real Zombies 2015, to give you all the details there. I'm now going to have a little break here. I've got some appropriate clothing today. For example, I've got my UFO Truth magazine hat and my UFO Truth magazine T-shirt, which is pretty good. I'm just going to wrap myself up. I've got a little Remembrance poppy there. Now, as you know, if you watched my video on Remembrance Sunday, I don't like the Remembrance Day poppies. I think they're symbolic of blood. They're symbolic of an Illuminati blood sacrifice, so I don't normally wear one. But this was made for me by Maureen at the Truth Seekers Northeast as a present, so I'm wearing it because she made it for me. She's a lovely lady, she is, and she's a good friend, so I'm wearing it. And of course, this Sunday, day after tomorrow, is the centenary of Armistice, and that's why it's a big deal this particular year. And I've done an article called Armistice 100. If you watch that on her Panmo Voice, I'll explain the whole blood sacrifice thing and about what it means, and I think how the poppy is symbolic of that. How there's certain works of art that seem to play on this idea that the redness of the poppy is morphed into a liquid form like blood. And there was a very disturbing incident actually during one of the commemorations when there was a big part. There's a big sort of like London street commemoration in London outside Buckingham Palace, and a Lancaster bomber flew over, an original Lancaster bomber. This is a weapons platform designed to kill innocent people in Germany, and it dropped 1 million poppy leaves onto the Mall, onto Buckingham Palace. 1 million of these poppy leaves, like the little paper ones. And the Queen was dancing and going like that. She on the shoes like that. There's no video of this online, but I saw it. It was like a rain of blood coming down on Buckingham Palace and onto the Mall. And I thought, my God, it's satanic. It's about the sacrifice of millions of young men in a ritual. The Great War, was it 10 to 18 million people dead? Worst war in history from purely military losses. You've seen the videos of guys in the trench and things like that. Was it all? Or, I mean, there may be many reasons why it was done. It was funded and organised from the various banks across the world, as was Hitler in World War II. But was it partly done as a satanic ritual? I think so. Disgusting idea. Okay, now I'm going to find somewhere to sort of hang out. I think there's a shop round here I went to last time, because I came through here when I was on my way to Suffolk to speak at the Swansea UFO network. So I'm going to find the shops, and then I'm going to return to the coast station in time to catch my coach to Cardiff. So see you later. Okay, I'm back at the coast station now. Here I am. And I've just seen there's a double-decker National Express coach there, which is very odd. I've not seen one of those before for National Express. The coaches to London are all double-deckers like that, but the National Express ones are all single-decker, you see, like that one over there. See, most of them are just like that. That's what they all are. They're all single-deck coaches like that. I wonder if that's the one I'm travelling on. It's FK202 is with a number. And I wonder if it's waiting to leave. Maybe that's the one I'm going to be on. We'll soon find out. Right, so that's the double-decker coach you see beside you. As you can see, I'm not actually on that one today. I'm on just a normal coach like this. But it'd be interesting to go on one of those. But maybe they're replacing them with a new fleet. I don't know. We'll find out. Anyway, I'm on the last stage of my journey now to Cardiff, so looking to get there about 4 p.m. I'm now crossing the Severn Bridge. Out there is the River Severn. This bridge is on the border between England and Wales. When we get to the other side, we'll be in Wales. And you'll know you're in Wales because you might see a sign that says "Welcome to Wales, Croeso I Gymru," and all the road signs will be bilingual, English and Welsh. And there is Wales. That land over there is Wales. So I'm going back to my old homeland. Yes, I am. Till I want no more. Maybe I'll sing later.
it. Made it over here. There's actually a famous poem by a Welsh poet in Cynghana, the Welsh literally meant it, because you have to pay to get into Wales, but you don't have to pay to get out. The toll is only one way, and there's something very significant about that. There's my coach. Just got off my coach, and here I am in Cardiff. Oh man, it's this is Cardiff. Well, I've got no idea exactly where I am in Cardiff, but I'm in Wales. Look there, see? Exit. Allanfa, or I thought it was Ffordd Allan. You see Ffordd Allan as well. And Stopover there means ticket office. I'm not going to try and speak Welsh while I'm here because I'm as rusty as a ship on the bottom of the sea. But I have spoken. I did learn to speak it when I was. My mum and dad. My mum and dad never spoke it. But I learnt it at school, and my uncle speaks it. But I'm not going to try and speak it. Besides which, I mean, I probably, if I tried to, probably no one would understand me, because here in South Wales it tends to be. I think the majority of native people here don't speak it. It's funny thing about Wales. Wales is sort of like, even though Wales has two languages, English and Welsh, the actual Welsh is about 20%, 20 to 30% of people actually speak it fluently. You know, it's taught in schools. In most of the, in the most populous areas of the country, like these big cities in the south, very few people speak it. And that might be a disappointment, but it's a fact. But of course, because of the laws, the bylaws in Wales, everything is bilingual. By Cardiff. There's a red castle up here. Can't see a castle of any colour. See, there we are. Soggy bakey, baker's bike. It's a borrowed word. So the general rule is, it's not universal, but the further north and west you go, the more people speak Welsh, and the further into the countryside you go, more people speak Welsh. It's not altogether though. There are Welsh-speaking cities. I mean, like Emlyn told me when I was here last year. Emlyn of Sufon. That I think is it's the River Taff. Oh, this is at the Millennium Stadium. Oh, I think I know where I am now. He said that where he was, where they were, where he was staying, the hotel where I was staying, he said that's no one speaks Welsh. You go over the river to the other side, nearly everyone speaks it. It's like the normal. More people speaking the don't. So where I come from in Lampeter, it was like 80% Welsh speaking. Even though there was like a college there. Lampeter is a weird place actually. It's probably the smallest university town in the world. But it's quite cosmopolitan. There's lots of people from other parts of the country and from abroad there. But the weather is bloody awful. It's raining, and I am walking around not knowing where to go yet, because I've got to get my map out. But I need to find somewhere dry to get my map out. Otherwise, my map will get wet. Mae'n bwrw glaw yn wir, as the Welsh would say. That means it's raining like hell. But it's a nice little park actually. But in the summer it's lovely here. Looks like I'm going to have a little wipe here. Yeah, of course it's a weird thing about it's nice actually that Welsh is here. It's like Welsh could have died out, because like there's other languages that have died out. I mean,
I did a video about languages, and I've written articles about languages. Scott Felton's very into languages. And he was saying like there were like there's like about 4,000 languages in the world at the moment. But if you go back just like a couple of hundred years, there are about 17,000. Nearly all of them are gone. They just vanished over time because of pressure, you know, because of various kinds of pressure. Sometimes the people who speak them have disappeared. Like the Amazon Indians and people like that, they've disappeared, and the Red Indians. A lot of the languages that have disappeared, like American Indian languages and Australian Aboriginal languages, their population just crashed, they just died. But other times people switch languages, people change languages, and that's how languages die out as well. And that's very much what's happened in British Isles, like with Gaelic in Scotland and Cornish in Cornwall. Although Gaelic is still around, it's quite restricted to a few small areas, and Cornish I think died out, but it's been revived now. I think they've got like a revision program, which is nice. A lot of kids speak it now, which is nice. But Welsh, Cornish, Gaelic, these are all Celtic languages spoken in the pre-Illuminati era. English came later. English didn't arrive in Britain until the beginning of the Middle Ages, actually. It's a Germanic language, more closely related to German than the Celtic languages, although they're all Indo-European. And that's kind of displaced all the others. I mean, Welsh was in a pretty bad way in sort of late 19th century. People were just predicting that it would be gone within 100 years or so. But it's thriving today. It's great. So I'm not going to have a Boudica moment. I just thought I'd let you know that the Welsh language is in a sense an artifact of the pre-Illuminati world here in Britain. It's a language that was related, it's descended, it's not the language, but it's descended from languages spoken by the pre-Illuminati people of these islands. No, I'm not going to have a Boudica moment. It's nice here, isn't it? Look. That old tree. That could tell you some stories, couldn't it? Yeah. Right, I've got to try and find a dry place to read my map, and I'll know where I am, and find a bus stop to the airport. Oh, I've got rain on there already, hang on. Can you see alright now? There's a raindrop on there, I can't get rid of it, never mind. There's a big blotch, that's a raindrop. Hence Taffy. And there is the Millennium Stadium. Wow, I've been there a couple of times. Now that's when I can. One moment. Just getting rid of the raindrops. I think I made things worse, haven't I? Can you see all right? Can you see me okay? No, that's on the side of the old Cardiff Arms Park, the Millennium Stadium. As I think it's 70,000 seater or something. It was the biggest sports ground in the country until the new Wembley opened. And it's on the site of the old Cardiff Arms Park, and I've been there a couple of times when I saw France play Wales in the rugby with my friend Barry, and then I think I saw Wales and Scotland again another year, but both times we lost. But it's lovely going to tell you what, if you ever come to Wales, you've got to go to a rugby match. I mean, rugby is like the national sport, and this here is the best place to go, the Millennium Stadium. They had the FA Cup here for a while because when Wembley was being rebuilt, for a few years they had the FA Cup here, I remember. So I'm taking a little walk through our nation's capital, and trying to think about the last time I came here. Actually, it was funny enough, I think I last came here properly to see no, it was the rugby matches, yeah. But before that, I never actually visited Cardiff until one moment. I'm going to clear this rain again. How come Slacks never has this problem? Oh, he's got an umbrella, hasn't he? And I haven't brought one. I never came to Cardiff when I was living in Wales. So I was born in Wales, left Wales when I was 8 years old. Never came to our nation's capital once until I was living in Oxford, and I visited it from abroad. From Oxford, which counts as abroad, I think. I came here for the first time in about 1999 to research my first novel, Evans Land. I don't know if any of you actually have a copy of Evans Land. I did sell the old ones off at a cheap price on my stall, and I did one or two remote sales. But it's my first novel at the moment, and it's huge. It's almost 1,000 pages, and it is about Wales. It's an absolute doorstep of a book. Atlas shrugged with daffodils, and I hope you can hear me. I'm hoping that the microphone works, because the wind is pretty high at the moment. But Evans Land was my first novel, and I came here to do some research. I came here first to do research because a part of the story is actually set in Cardiff, so I came to Cardiff and I sort of wandered around just to see what it looked like and look at the scenes where the story was going to take place. And then after that I came back here to do sales. I went on a sales trip with my book to try and sell it here in Wales, which I thought was the best place to try and sell it. So I went around various bookshops trying to flog it to various booksellers, and I wasn't very successful actually. I managed to shift a few of them, but I wasn't that successful. Most of them getting from wholesalers and things like that. Oh well. And it is the looming Millennium Stadium looming over the top of us. It's a good place actually to take a stop because it's dry under here. I can actually get my map out when I'm underneath here and find out where I am. I've got to get to, I better text Kaz and let her know I'm here. And I've got to get to the airport, which is where I'm staying. Everywhere in the city is an absolute rip-off, or it's full. So I'm staying at the airport, so I've got to find out where I get my bus to Cardiff Airport. Oh, it's dry and there's no wind. Okay guys, just going to dry the camera off, and I'll catch you later. Well, I don't know how much you can see because there's rain everywhere, and there's some of it has got into the lens. But I'm walking down this big shopping street here, this big commercial street in Cardiff, our nation's capital, just looking to get where I can get some food because I'm going to eat first. I don't want to go to the airport during the rush hour, which is where it is now. It's always dark, with the clouds making it even darker. So I'm going to see if I can find somewhere to have a meal, to walk. Right. It's fun, like I'm sure they hate to hear me say this, but you know, I wouldn't know I was in a Welsh place here. I mean, I've not heard many people in the background with the local accent. Lots of languages being spoken, but not Welsh. But I've literally just been here and I haven't spoken to anyone. And when the last time I was here, there was like lots of people with a local Cardiff accent, which is quite distinctive Welsh accent. I think it's like it's very Welshified though. There's like a big sense of Welshness, almost to make up for something. Maybe this, because like where I come from, most of the people there in Lampeter don't consider this a part of Wales. They say, "Oh, I've got a sister lives in Cardiff. She's English." Yeah, there's a lot of actual ignorance. As I was saying, there's a language barrier in Wales. Further north you go, further west you go, the more people speak Welsh. The more rural you get to, the more people speak Welsh. But like I said, that's not a general rule. There are English-speaking villages. There are large places where there's mostly Welsh-speaking. It's funny, like there's a really good film actually in this. I think which is worth seeing. Set in Cardiff, called what's it called? I can't remember what it's bloody called now. It's a really good movie, and I think of the title in a minute. It's about a group of people, sort of young people. They're played by actors who are too old for the characters they play, but they still do it really well. And they're sort of like, they go out on it all set around their wild night out on the town, and they go to various pubs and have drinks and they take drugs and things, and it's very philosophical though. It's not like a film about mindless hedonism. There's a lot of wisdom and philosophy in it. And what's it bloody called? I can't remember. It's a fantastic movie. I absolutely love it. Oh, Human Traffic. It's called Human Traffic. I know I think of it sooner or later. So please do go and see Human Traffic if you can. It's really, really good. It's set in Cardiff a few years ago. It's got a few people like and someone whose name I can't bloody think of, and he's really, really oh man, I can't think of these people. Just these names come into my head and they can't. But he's like this Cockney bloke he's been in EastEnders and he's been in loads of movies, and he's in that documentary about UFOs. I just seen a fucking UFO. So I was having a wander around to see what I find. Have a decent meal, text Kaz, and then eventually make me way to the hotel. Although I've got plenty to do actually once I get there, because I mean I can hang around there all evening because I've got like a book to read, and I bought some paper and pen with me, so I can work on my novel. So I'm not going to get bored this evening, and meet up with Kaz tomorrow. And that's when the fun begins. I bought my book AD After Disclosure by Richard Dolan and Bryce Stable, my copy of that, because I've got to get into the UFO frame of mind. I mean, I've got to remember, it's easy to forget, I'm here to do something related to UFOs. I'm on a UFO adventure, and that is something I don't want to forget. So I've got to put myself in that frame of mind. So I just let Kaz know that I'm here. Tomorrow should be quite good fun. I'm just going to have a little wander around here and see if I can find somewhere decent I can have a good meal. And I'm back. You can't see it, there's a bus in the way. Cardiff Castle. And I got these things out. I think I've got a feeling those things are something to do with Christmas already. But here is Cardiff Castle. And it's dark now, I can't see much of it. Maybe I'll show you more of it tomorrow. But there was I came here, this is where I first came. When I first arrived in Cardiff, I went on the train for my research trip in 1999 when I was writing Evansland, and I came here because there's a scene in the novel set inside Cardiff Castle, so I had to go in there, and there's a big Norman keep in there. Climb to the top of that, and you can see here, this is very touristy along here. There's this shop here with loads. Look at this. Look at all this stuff here. Welsh tops there. See, hat, rugby gear. Look at all this. Looks great, doesn't it? Cymru, hanes Southall. Well, that's something to do with history. I don't know what that means. Something history. Oh, Hannes is history. I don't know what that means. Oh, historical. That's it. And so now I know it says, what it says, several shops. You see the flags there? There are several visitors' shops along here outside the castle. This is kind of the tourist heartland of Cardiff. It's quite, yeah, it's alright. I mean, some big modern buildings as well. See, the tallest building in Wales is actually in Swansea. I know because Emlyn showed it to me. Right, alright, here we go. And there's a real good Welsh traditional places in the Cafe Nero. Can't get away from them. Here's another one here, look, Shop Rugby, there we are. You can't go far in Wales without coming across rugby places. Anything to do with rugby here in Cardiff. Oh my god, look at that! Throat shop. Is that a reptilian? Oh my god, bloody hell. Oh, that's like something from Resident Evil. Do you remember my Resident Evil video? Yeah. Creepy, eh? And my feet are bloody soaking. I should have brought me work boots to wear, but I can't. They're just horrible to clean. I'd rather just wear these other shoes, these normal shoes, and just wipe them off at the end of the day, I think. It's just easier that way, you know? It's just an easier thing to do. Here we go, this is where I never came last time. Okay, I'm in Barry now. And my friend Barry is actually named after this place. Who I don't see much these days, but we used to be good mates. I'll go get to the Travelodge. It's still chucking it down with rain. I left Cardiff about half an hour ago. After having a posh meal in some grand restaurant, paid for by my expenses from Bufora. Only kidding, I went to Burger King. And now I've got to try and find my way to the Travelodge, which is somewhere around here. The guy is absolutely convinced. So this looks familiar from Google Earth, actually. Right. Okay, Cardiff that way, which means I'm going in the right direction. I hope. Okay, so it's only about like, I think it's only about 8ish, 8 o'clock, but what a damn horrible place in terms of weather. I've got my map anyway, so if I get lost, all I have to do is find a street name, and that's it. I'm sorted. I'm like that. I've got a skill for that sort of thing. So I'm marked on the map where I've got to go. So it's still quite early. So even if I get lost, I can find my way. It's so damn wet though. Starting raining again heavily. Hope it's nicer tomorrow when I go to Pentyrch. Oh, well, not to worry. I mean, it says sunshine and showers tomorrow, so that's not so bad, is it? I mean, it's sort of give it a chance to dry off between the rain. I'm wearing these shoes. I thought about putting my work boots on when I saw the weather forecast, but quite frankly, it's easier just to let these dry off rather than cleaning my work boots. I'd much rather just let these dry off when I get home. You know, let them get wet, let them dry. Okay, right, nearly there now, I think. Any problems, I'll let you know. Okay, I'm nearly there now. I'm at this big roundabout. This is the right place. Here's the sign there, Cardiff Airport. Mysoir, Cardiff. Now, I've learned something, because that's the word for airport is literally an airfield. And I thought it was something else. And so I've learned a bit more of my Welsh. I've topped up my Welsh while I've been here. As you should when you're in Wales. Now, it's about a 40-minute walk actually from where the bus dropped me off, but the rain stopped. It's quite pleasant. It's still cloudy, but I'm actually heading there now. Now I don't have to walk all the way to the airport. The actual airport Travelodge is actually half a mile from the airport, so it's not actually in the airport itself. I'm just a bit dark at the moment. But there's street lights along here. There's a pub I might drop into actually, and I'll probably find Richard D. Hall propping up the bar. And I'm going to book myself into my room. Only kidding about Hall. He won't be here. And then basically chill for the rest of the evening. So it's about 9:15 now. What's the time? Hang on, I'll check the time. Yeah, it's actually 25 to 9. So still quite early, but I'm not bothered. I've got things to do. Like I said, I've got some writing to do. I've got some reading. A good night in is absolutely fun. All I need is a computer game, you know, like that song. What wonderful weather for gaming. Outside it's raining. What wonderful weather for gaming. Well, that's enough singing. So I'm looking forward to having a good night's sleep and then heading off to Pentyrch tomorrow. I'll see if I can find a more convenient bus stop than the one I just left. Because it's a bit of a step that, and the buses only go every 20 minutes or so, and tomorrow's a Saturday, so it'll probably be different times. So what I'll do is I'll try and find a bus stop this evening, so I know exactly when my bus is going back tomorrow morning to Cardiff, and hopefully get one from somewhere around here, somewhere a bit closer. There's one over there. Is that a bus stop? I think it is. No, I think it's just a sign. I looked on Google Maps and there was a bus stop near here. I'll find out anyway. So just gonna check myself in. Oh, there's a bus. 9:05. Can't I get that one? Oh. If next I'll walk to the airport and I'll get one from there. I'll get one of the airport express buses. Oh, wow! What an adventure this is. Well, I made it. I'm at the hotel. I'll show you more of the hotel room tomorrow, actually, because I know you guys like me doing that. So I'll show you around the hotel room tomorrow morning. But it's about 8:45 now. So I've got some work to do. But in the meantime, I'm going to go and go to the pub next door. And I want to celebrate, actually, because I've just found out. I had a text from my daughter. She just got herself a job. Yay! Quite a good job, actually. Quite a senior position she's actually got as well. She knew the manager of the place. I won't say which one because you know what it's like, mud sticks and all that sort of thing. But she's got herself a job, so congratulations to my lovely daughter Louisa. Now I've got like this is weird, right? Because I went when I got to reception. I asked him for a bus timetable because there was a bus stop outside, and he gave me this. Now this is Traws Cymru T9. This is bloody annoying. This is it's T9, yeah, bus T9, right? I was in Cardiff and I was talking to one of the bus drivers, and he said, "Oh, you can't get a T9 to the. You've got to go straight to the airport if you're getting T9. You've got to get this other one, which dropped me off down where I was, and so I had to walk back. I mean, it was a pleasant walk in the end, but this is a much better bus to get. It takes me direct there. That's what I found out on the internet, and I thought it was wrong. Oh, idiots! Oh, bloody! Oh, right, that's another one. Okay, so I know what I'm doing tomorrow. Look, their buses are pretty regular. Here we go. Every Monday to Sunday. See, Monday to Sunday, it's the same day every day, and it gets me to Cardiff, and it goes these times past the hour all day. So should be easy enough to get to Cardiff, and then I know where my other bus is to get to Pentyrch and then meet Kaz. So for now, though, I think it's time for a little pint of whatever. Guess what happens, right? I come back from the pub into my hotel room, and guess what's on TV? Paul. It's a comedy film with Nick Frost, Simon Pegg there, you see, and it's all about aliens and Roswell and things like that. First time I saw it, I was in the cinema, and I didn't like it. I thought it was a bit silly. It was taking the mickey out of what I thought was a serious subject, you know. But it's grown on me. It's grown on me, and now I've got the DVD of it at home, and I really like it. I really enjoy it. It's funny and it's clever and it's really stylish. Really like it. So that's really great considering I'm doing a UFO thing tomorrow, and this film is on. It's just so apt. There's the old alien autopsy there, see? The black mailbox. See what I mean? Yeah. Morning. That's right, it is now Saturday morning, and I'm in my hotel room here at the Travelodge, and I'll just show you around like I always do. Just getting my socks dry from yesterday, and I'm on the ground floor here today. See, there's the pub over there. Yeah, this is where it's quite a small place actually. Quite a small Travelodge, there's only about 20 rooms here, and I just wasn't sure which bed to use, so I had a choice, you see, of two. I'm sure that picture was on the wall of another Travelodge I was in. Have universal decoration, I think. Right, so here is the whole place here. And look, here's the bathroom, which is not bad. And I've got a little, what's I've got here? And I've actually got a detachable shower which I can actually move around and sort of like wash underneath and things like that. Which is a much better shower than the previous Travelodge I was in, because if you remember, that had a psycho shower. It's one that was simply bolted into the wall. This one I can actually sort of like move around, so I haven't had a shower yet, but I will have one later. Yeah, so that there is my hotel room. Well, I'm in Cardiff, and there's the castle. You're about to see the castle in daylight. Better than last night when I showed you in the dark. Had a bit of a difficult journey up here from the hotel at the airport, just outside the airport. A bus driver picked me up and told me she wasn't supposed to pick me up, but it was raining like hell and I was soaking wet, so she did, which was very nice of her. I'm not going to tell anyone, am I? But she said, "Oh no, you can't get on the bus here." But my timetable said you could. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow morning. I'm going to have to make plans because my coach leaves at 7:45. So how am I going to get from the hotel to Cardiff Centre? I've got to go to Sophia Gardens, which is where you saw yesterday that it dropped me off. I'll have to work out. I might have to walk to the airport and get a coach to get the airport transport bus or something like that. Because there's a bus that does go. There's a bus that does go from the airport into Cardiff. But I'm now. I want to try to avoid having to get a taxi all the way from the hotel to central Cardiff, because that's about 30 quid. Now I've got to find them. Right now I've got to get to Pentyrch, and well, according to my research, there's a bus that leaves from a corner around here, but I mean, the buses, most of the timetables are out of date, including the ones online, and they're not. It's not the best bus service in the world you get in Cardiff, I must say. Okay, so I've got to find the right street now. There is the great Cardiff Castle. It's nice, isn't it? Is that an Illuminati pyramid? It kind of is, isn't it? Capstone and pyramid, yeah. They got the Union Jack there, and of course they've got the Red Dragon up there as well. See, you can't go anywhere in Wales without seeing the Red Dragon. Right off our flag. Yeah. There's another one, see. There's a big match here actually, today. There's a big rugby match going on. And some people on the bus were talking about it. So, well, that's, I do like a bit of rugby, but I've got UFOs to deal with at the moment, so that's got to come first. So I've got to go meet Kaz at a location in Pentyrch. Got to be there by midday, should be easy enough to get there. I was thinking about getting the train and just, there's a stop called Tap Swell, which is about 1.5 miles walk from Pentyrch. I was thinking of doing that, but I'll risk the bus once more. This beautiful landscape here, as you can see there. I'm going through these steep hillsides. I've seen a couple of like fairy tale like buildings. It's really nice. I went past one, didn't have time to get my camera out. Look at that cliff edge there. I don't know how much I can see out through the front, but this is the classic landscape of South Wales. Look at that. These are the valleys. There you go. That's a good view there. Managed to get the bus okay in the end. Excuse me. Oh god, that's horrible feeling at my nose. Alright. This is Pentyrch in South Wales. And I've got this sort of like strange feeling in my nose. It's like I want to sneeze all the time. I had it came on last night when I was in the hotel. It's like I've got something up there. I don't know what it is, but it's not like a normal cold. But I'm here. I'm about an hour early actually. I've got to meet Kaz in that pub over there in a little while. She's going to meet me in that pub, but not till midday. It's only 11, so just gonna have a little wander around and check out the place, check out the location first and foremost. And we'll get a feel for it, get a feel for the village. This is an absolutely beautiful little place. I mean, I don't think I showed you the best vision. What's it? The best vistas of the journey up here. I don't think I did. There's an obelisk over there. I think that's the war memorial. I'll go and have a look at that later. So if I snort like this, I know I do that a lot anyway. That noise gets on some viewers' nerves. But it's particularly bad today because my nose is running because of this itch, this irritation I've got, this itchy feeling I've got on my nose. This is, when I was coming up here, the actual bus ride up here, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. You go up these steep valleys, and the people who live here are called valley people, and there's valley boys and valley girls. It's kind of like a Welsh thing, it's like
it's almost like a subculture within Welsh culture. I'm a valley boy, I'm a valley girl, I even have that accent. Valley, they speak with a very loud, they lengthen every vowel. It's almost like the classic South Wales accent. Because there's not just one Welsh accent, there's several, and you get to notice some of them. There's like in the north they talk like this. They sort of talk a little bit through their nose and they talk in this itsy bitsy tone like that. And in the south they talk they lengthen the vowels like that. And you see, that's what I mean by the valley boy accent. And Newport's got a unique accent. It's right up in southeast Wales near the border. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The Newport accent is almost like the definitive Welsh accent. You know, the standard one, the one that everyone thinks of, the popular idea of a Welsh accent. So there's different accents all over the country. It's nice round here. Just going down this little footpath through the centre of Pentyrch. And the sun's come out too, which is lovely. Look at that, isn't that? What's that there? It's like, that's another fairy tale like thing. There's several fairy tale like vistas here. That is obviously like a pigeon loft or something, or bird's nests. Someone's put that up there for birds to nest in. But there is almost fairy tale like atmosphere in this part of Wales, just north of Cardiff, with the valleys, and there's a couple of buildings like with spires on. They're not churches or anything, but they've been made to look like a sort of fairy tale like thing. That's very, so that's kind of, so that's kind of the atmosphere of this place. And when the sun comes out, it's really, really nice. I'm glad the sun came out for the journey. How long it will be out, I don't know, because the forecast says it's not going to be out all day. So what I'll do with Kaz, we've got quite a lot to film, you see, and there's only going to be about 4 hours of daylight, and a lot of that's going to be raining. So what I'll do is just muddy there. I'm not going to go that way. So what I'll do is I will perhaps get the location shoots done first, and then if she wants to like do an interview or something, I'll do that afterwards. Hopefully that'll be okay with her schedule. I think Gary's going to be there too. Gary of the Gary Jones of the Swansea UFO Network, who's been basically the case investigator for this. So I'm looking forward to it. This made me laugh. This is Welsh logic, ladies and gentlemen. Do not climb over or damage this fence. If you need access, please ask at Maesogorf 1 Heoil Pentre. So what they're saying here, someone's going to come along here and they're going to go, I need to get into this house. You know, hang on, I'm going to climb over this fence. Hang on a minute. Do you mean I have to be unconventional and use a front door? That's a bit strange, isn't it? So yeah, that made me laugh. That did. There's a lot of things like that in Wales. It's like it's like there used to be warning signs on the railways when I was a kid, and one was, you know, it's to do with opening doors of trains before the train stopped or something like that, and it had a big like illuminated sign, like something from an old chapel, saying one moment's carelessness and a lifetime of remorse. So that's probably far more effective than saying please be careful when you open the dry train doors. You know, one moment's carelessness and a lifetime of remorse. And here is the Pentyrch War Memorial, and it says our glorious dead. There's nothing glorious about dying in wars. I've seen people who've died in wars. It's not like the movies, I can tell you. 1914 to 1919 and 1939 to 45. It's interesting. People think of the Great Wars 1914 to 18. It's actually 1919. It was June 1919 that the Versailles Treaty was actually signed, which was the formal ending of the war. There's the poppy wreath there. The actual the armistice lasted, so it's very often the armistice is considered the end of the war, because that's when the ceasefire began, which led to the Versailles Treaty, and that lasted, it held. And the centenary of that particular event is tomorrow. It's 100 years since the armistice.
And I've written an article about that on Panama Voice, about the fact that even now historians they argue over why it happened. Why did the Great War happen? It must have been quite incredible. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the guns fell silent for the last time. After how many people died? Was it, some people say 10 million, some people say 18 million. It's definitely the worst war the world's ever seen in terms of military losses. By far the worst war the world has ever seen. Hopefully we'll ever see again. And people are still thinking, well, why, what was all that about then? I suppose when you're in the trenches, spending every day up to your knees in dirty water and being shot at, you don't think about things like that, I imagine. I don't know what it feels like, but I imagine that's what it's like. But I mean, why? Why did these things happen? I mean, well, obviously, it's an industry. A lot of people got very rich off it, just like a lot of people got very rich off Hitler and the Cold War. It was an industry. The military-industrial complex, as Eisenhower called it. He should know. He was a part of it. But as Stefan Molyneux was saying the other day, you couldn't have a war. He says the centralisation of banking and the control of fiat currency and things like that. If you didn't have that, you couldn't have a war on that scale. It would just be too expensive for anyone to afford. I mean, in the 1960s, the peaceniks used to say, you know, what if they had a war and no one turned up? Or perhaps a more fitting catchphrase would be, what if they had a war and nobody paid for it? And it's awful, but that's often what happens. Yeah, it's a sad thing. Oh, and there's 100 years ago, and there's all these people. See, this one little village. Look how many people this little village lost. It's only a small place. Look at Pentyrch on the map. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15 people in this one little village, and there's almost that number in the Second World War, 39 to 45, which brought in the aspect of civilian deaths, that is, bystanders. You had Blitz, you had the Blitz, you had the Blitz and things like that. 60,000 people dead in London, Pearl Harbor, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, the destruction of Germany by the Allies from the air in terms of bombing. That really that again was something new, and on that scale was unprecedented. I mean, I'm not a utopian. I don't think you're never going to have a world where nobody ever goes to war against each other, but if it's possible to avoid them, why shouldn't we try to avoid them? I mean, there's people who say, there was a guy on YouTube saying, oh, war is inevitable, war will always happen, you can never have a world without war. And people who say that sort of thing very often use that as an excuse not to do anything when a war is looming, and not try to avoid the wars which are avoidable. You like the Gulf War or something, like the Iraq War, people are saying, well, yeah, I know we've been lied to, I know we should be exposing these lies, but war is inevitable, there's nothing you can do. Well, can't we just avoid the ones that can be avoided, even if we can't get rid of all of them? Funny though, I've lost my train of thought. I'm supposed to be here to talk about UFOs, and I'm now, look at this war memorial has once again put me in another mindset. I'm easily distracted. But here's a lovely view here across this South Wales countryside, and it's gorgeous. Yes, it is. Well, I'm going to go and meet up with Kaz and Gary soon. So we'll just have another little walk around, see if there's anything else worth filming, and I'll go to the pub. Well, I'm in Pentyrch in South Wales, and I'm here with someone called Kaz. Hi, Kaz.
Hi.
This is Kaz Clark. Now, and I'm also, well, he's not ready yet, but Gary Jones is here too. Now, if you listen to Panwo Radio as well as watch your Panwo TV, you'll know who these guys are, because they have been featured on the programme. And now they're here on Panwo TV. So, Gary, say hello to the Panwo TV viewers.
Hello, Panwo TV viewers.
Yeah. Now, we are at a very special place, aren't we, Kaz?
We are indeed, yes.
What happened here in February 2016?
Well, this is where the big UFO appeared. This is the gate that we ran to, so we'd have an unobstructed view of what was happening in front of us. Got an E3 Sentry going,
That's right.
doing big ovals and coming back above us. The first red light actually started over there, but by the time we got to the gate, it was actually in front of us here. Had a leading set of 6 lights on its underside, turning very slowly towards us anti-clockwise, and came down just above the tree line here in an upright position. And a green object shot out of the top of it really fast and went over to above these trees here on my left-hand side and just waited and skipped from side to side. I described it like a leaf falling on a still day, but just waited there and watched for something. We now know it waited for the military aircraft. The huge pyramid started to list to the right-hand side and very slowly moving backwards. I actually stood on the gate to get a better look through the trees because all the trees were bare at that time. In fact, we had a skywatch over here with Swansea UFO not so long back, and you could see their lights whilst people stood at these gates. You could see their lights in the field there. And this hand of lightning seemed to come out of the craft, and the whole thing lit up really brightly, showing that it was actually a pyramid craft, not just a triangle and not just a string of lights. This thing was enormous, like a high-rise building. In fact, whilst I was looking at the bottom, you couldn't see the top. Such was the size of it. And
So it's
I
like,
can point to the top of it now, which is about a
get the,
60,
Just keep your finger there. Just get a shot.
about a 60-degree angle from this gate.
Right. So that is huge. Yeah.
Yes.
That's
And we're
Yeah.
about 200 metres away from the tree line, so when you equate the distance to the height of this thing, it was enormous. It was enormous.
It'll be something. I mean, it's hard to judge distances, but in the sky. But obviously, if it was close and small, you'd be obviously it was close and small because you get a parallax on it. But
Right.
but obviously, if it's that far away, you're not getting any parallax. Then it's probably going to be about 200 metres in size at least.
At least.
Yeah, I see. That's.
At least.
That's
I'd say bigger than that.
So were you here anyway? You were just standing here with the Swansea guys, or were
I
you...
was... No, Swansea weren't here. We'd watched because we had that small aircraft that was going around the village and doing a figure of 8 over our houses for 3 days and nights.
This is weird. So there was a lot of very unusual aircraft activity.
Yeah,
before this all started.
right.
Didn't
On the first day, when I first noticed the grey plane, I didn't pay it any mind at all. We have military planes and helicopters all the time. RAF St Athan is about 7 miles that way. So I didn't pay it any mind. I just ignored it. It was the next day when Dave, one of my other neighbours, came out of his house complaining that this little plane had kept him awake all night. And it was then really on the Wednesday that we started to pay attention to what this plane was doing. Shortly afterwards, a second plane would turn up, take the place of the first plane, and then the first plane would leave. So they never left the airspace unwatched, and it kind of, Dave had written to the MOD to ask what these planes were all about, didn't get a response. He also wrote to Welsh Online, didn't get a response from them either. So everyone was aware that this was going on, but nobody was acknowledging that this was going on.
Right. It's almost like if they're we know the Ministry of Defence were keeping a very careful eye out for what's going on here, and it was a Ministry of Defence plane. You actually managed to identify one of the actual aircraft.
Both of the planes were, one was MOD and one was Army.
Right.
But they're both for reconnaissance and surveillance in real time, and work with this I-STAR programme that liaises directly with the E3 Sentries, and we had 2 of those as well.
These are like the AWACS aircraft.
Yeah, one of them was a NATO aircraft, and one of them is our Air Force, the E3
RAF.
Sentry.
Yeah.
RAF.
Yeah, we've identified those.
So, I mean, maybe we'll talk more about the cover story later when we're indoors, but I know that there's several people have just suggested this is simply an exercise.
No, it wasn't.
It seems too much of a coincidence that this will be going on at the same time as you had your experience. You saw these strange things in the sky.
We had aircraft that I've since found out, 50 miles out in every direction all the way around us, something that I can't see from here. And what did they do? Wait for me to drop my hanky to start their exercise? No, it started at the moment that pyramid started to emerge.
Oh, weird.
And it emerged, it didn't decloak. I explained it like it came through a black veil, like it came through fog, into our world from somewhere else. It did not decloak, it didn't just appear, and I've argued this point with many people. Why, if it was cloaked, did it decide to decloak in the middle of a military ambush? Why, if it was cloaked, didn't it remain cloaked?
So it's like I've heard this before. I mean, there's been several descriptions of UFOs appearing out of a cloud of vapour.
Right.
I mean, the Rendlesham Forest incident is a perfect example. We have the strange pyramidal object of Larry Warren talks about coming out of a cloud. It's like a big cloud comes down, and then this thing almost like solidifies out of the cloud.
Right.
So this is almost like it's coming out of another world into ours.
Through this space, this airspace around us, yes. Everything was pitch black. And
a wormhole sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what the military were doing here afterwards. Because we've not had...
Yeah.
I was just going to say, tell them about the barrels that...
The barrels that came out afterwards.
'Cause
I didn't see any of them. Dave, who was with me, actually ran into the field at one point, and I called him back and I said, look, I don't mind watching, but from a safe distance. And whilst I was standing on this gate, fixated on it touching the ground, Dave was watching the top, and he said he saw 15 or 20 of these barrel-shaped or objects come out of the top of it. They just seemed to hover around the very top of it. And I didn't see any of them because I was so fixated on it touching the ground. But afterwards, we could see something red moving behind the tree line. When the C-17s went over the top of me, I looked up just for a moment. When I looked back, I couldn't see the pyramid anymore. But that's not to say that it wasn't there.
How long did you actually have visual sighting on the pyramid for?
I'd say all in all about 2.5 minutes.
Quite a long time. So it's
Yeah.
It's,
From its first appearance to it uprighting and turning back the way that it had come, about 2.5 minutes. Yeah.
And was there? You mentioned there was some what you described sounds to me. It may not be that, but it sounds to me like electrical discharges coming out of it to the ground.
Yeah.
Rather like lightning bolts.
I described it like a hand of lightning. Where I thought it was coming down, actually, as you can see over there to the right, the fields rise to the right there, because it's the actual foot of the Garth Mountain. So all the fields on that side go up to the north. And where I thought it was coming down, it was actually the field rising to meet it. And this hand of lightning, bless you,
Thanks.
like this plasma ejection came out of this craft. And the whole thing lit up really brightly. The lights went from tail-light red to white-orange and illuminated so much that you could see parts of the side of the ship. I've described it like it was creating light and shadow, like it was textured somehow, like a rock face. But I couldn't tell you a definitive shape on its surface.
You mentioned it's black in colour. You also mentioned there were lights on the actual object
all
as well.
the way around its perimeter, yes.
And by pyramidal, did it have like a square? Was it have one side square, or were they all sides triangular?
They were triangular with a curved bottom. The bottom of it was curved. But pyramidal in shape, yes. I don't know if it was three-sided or four-sided, because I could only see two sides of it. But it was definitely a pyramid, and the size of a pyramid, not a small aircraft, not a TR-3B, even though I've not seen a TR-3B. This was not triangular, this was a pyramid. There's a very distinct difference.
Definitely. I mean, maybe later when we talk indoors, we can talk more about the difference between what you saw and the TR-3B.
Okay.
Because I know there's been several people who made some, I think, incorrect hypotheses about this.
Okay.
But it's like the black triangle is a definitive UFO. It's almost like it's almost as common now as the saucer.
Right.
This is like
didn't have any lights on its surface. There's only had lights around its outside. That got brighter as it got closer to the ground, and then when the whole thing lit up, we just stood in shock and awe of what we were seeing.
I'm surprised. So, have you ever been to actually find a location where you think it came its closest point of approach to the ground, or where
Yes.
the hand of lightning, as you describe it,
Yeah.
actually appeared?
Where
Where exactly was that? You pointed to it, but have you ever actually been to the actual location?
Oh, we've been to the location multiple times. We went there the very same day, the very same morning, expecting to see burn marks on the ground, but there weren't any. But there was a very strange phenomena in that it was snowing in that field, but not snowing in the surrounding fields. And I took great pleasure in standing on the edge and watching and hearing the snow fall in front of me, but not on me. We've gone into the field up to where we believe this hand of lightning came out, and the only thing that was really obvious was that everything was dead, that this thing had gone over. All the trees were dead, all the gorse bushes was dead, and the fact that it was snowing there, but it was unusual snow, spongy. Donna described it like marshmallow balls, that you could squeeze it together and it would stay on your finger and then disappear, not melt. almost shrivel and disappear.
That's not normal snow at all.
And there was an area in that field that seemed to be warmer than the rest. And again, it was Donna that found that, and we all approached Donna, and we all stood in this one area. It was like something was still there, but we couldn't see it.
Something you should say as well is that Donna, it's in the statements, but it's not mostly talked about in our presentations, is that when she was up in the ball patch area, which we'll take you to soon, she felt one side of her face was very warm and the other side was very cold.
Nice.
So on. And she was that nervous, or shall I say shaken up by it, she didn't want to leave the area. She needed someone to take her down, and Dave was the one that came up to her and sort of walked her down away from it. There was like something that was affecting her nervous system, or
that's what it felt like. We were being watched.
Have any of the other witnesses spoken out as you have?
Donna has to a certain degree, Steve has to a certain degree. I know that Dave won't, because he has a young child, and until that child reaches an age where, you know, he goes past his fear of being taken away by social services because he's seen a UFO.
It's understandable.
He has made a statement, and it was all I could do to get him to do that. He has spoken to Sasha on air, but whether or not he will come forward as yet, I don't know.
Okay. Well, good luck to him, you know.
But I hope he does.
Since we're standing by the gate, do you want to tell him about the barrels that came over?
Yeah.
Because I do want to show you something now.
Whilst I was still
sure.
standing on the gate, and Dave was standing back here, where I am now, back from me, we had these two red barrel-shaped objects that we could see moving behind the tree line. We couldn't see that they were barrels at the time. We didn't know what they were. But David said at that point that he saw 15 or 20 of these orbs come out of the top. They just seemed to stay around the very top of the pyramid, dancing with each other, some mingling into one, others disappearing. And these two barrels, about the size of a small car, 30 feet off the ground, if that. One started moving across the field to my left, then stopped above this hedge, where Gary's just about to walk to now. And the second one came straight across and stopped just above this branch here, right above us. Bear in mind that there were no leaves on this tree at all.
Yeah.
Just by there, yeah. And about, yes, exactly there. And about 30 feet up, if that, maybe 20 feet. And stayed sentry there and stayed red. Now, I stared at it just for a few seconds because I wanted the details. I wanted to see. And I could see all these little black dots jumping around inside, like white noise on a TV screen on a red background that seemed to be capped off at the top and on the bottom, just with black caps, dead smooth sides. And then I looked to see where the second one was, but that one hadn't stopped. And by then, it was right above me, right above this tree branch here. And I waved. I didn't know what else to do. No. And it stopped and just changed colour. It changed colour from tail light red to traffic light green, like as quick as that, like somebody flicked a switch. And stayed there for a few seconds, and then the green one moved to my right across the rooftops of the houses here. And the red one then went across the field to my left and faded to black. And I don't know if it cloaked or if I just couldn't see it anymore, but that's where they went.
I just want to add something to that. If people are looking for corroborating evidence, I mean, I'd love to bring them back here and say, look, there it is over there, look, there's the big UFO, hasn't left, still there for everyone, but we can't do that. No. You know as well as I do that the only thing you can do is try and find evidence to corroborate the witnesses' accounts. Now, EMF readings is something that does come into this. You see, when me and Sufon came down here, we scanned this whole field. And we went down into the field over there, we scanned that one as well, and what we call a grid reference. You go left, down, right, down, left, down, right, and you come up and down. Try and figure out where the signals are coming from. So, the meter that we had, I'll just explain briefly. The unit measurement is microtesla. Now, the base reading I would say around here is about 0.05 or 0.1 microtesla. That's based on like 7 or 8 different times I've been here now. The two areas which we got signals where 0.4 goes off on this machine because it's harmful to humans. You know, that kind of range gets harmful. Long-term exposure does make it harmful. And if you go into that field long enough, I don't know if it's still there now, maybe you'll feel that. You'll feel rather nauseous.
Check that out, definitely.
here's one place where we got a signal, around this tree area. Yeah.
It's where the thing was above the branch.
This is the one that was red and green, as Kaz has said, on the gate. We were getting readings well above 0.4, sometimes 0.7, up to 1. Doesn't sound much on a scale of a number, but in terms of how microtesla scale works, compared to milligas, it's very, very high. And there's no electrical cables around here.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
one power line that Emlyn stood under to get his.
I'm sure this is the bush here. Do you want to bring your camera over here?
Sure. I want to ask, before we go, what's this thing attached to here? I'm kind of laughing at that.
Kaz can tell you that.
What will we put that there?
One of my neighbours put that there since the event.
Oh wow.
So if people do come, at least they know they're in the right place.
It's a good idea, that. Yeah. Right, you are. Just stop. There we go.
Get my jeans dirty, I'll get my boots on. She might not go too far. The field beyond those trees, eh?
Yeah.
There it is.
So where are we now?
Well, we're just
Gary,
coming up to an area now where the red barrel, where Kaz and Dave saw. This is the area right here. Would have been about 15, 30 feet. Did you say 30 feet?
Just above our heads, yeah.
What's that?
Okay, so within 15, 30 feet, and it would have been looking down over there. The green one would have been in those trees. Kaz would have been standing on the gate, and Dave would have been just behind it to my right. Now, what's interesting is that we found another signal right here. And this one was ranging above 0.6, 0.8. Now, I don't know if this is because of autumn or the way this is now, but what was interesting when you look at the leaves on there, as you get into this area here, it just goes rather dead, like. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. There's a colour bald patches. That bit's bald, and this bit's
Yeah, this
sort of like,
particular area was bald very clearly.
This don't look healthy, no.
It doesn't. I mean, autumn doesn't help because obviously they're all shedding their leaves now. But when it was more towards the springtime and when we got more into the Christmas again, before the leaves started turning green, all this, it was like once you got here, it was going yellowy brown, but behind it, you can see it's more still green.
Yeah.
Then it gets bald again. You can see it's all brownish.
Yeah. So these are all right. These ones.
And then it gets sort of healthy. I mean, those are losing. Those are turning.
Yeah.
Those are turning more. So I don't know if that's electromagnetic radiation still affecting the plants. To me, that is definitely the case.
But I mean, the idea that, I mean, we're going to go look at another bit in a minute, but the idea that when the UFOs appear, it seems to have some kind of effect on the environment, a permanent effect on the environment. That actually does happen in several different cases that I've talked about. I've looked into.
We'll take a walk down there, but the one thing I've learned about trees, especially the grass, someone's coming to stop us. It's like what gives it that shine, that green shine. You know, you pick some grass up, you see it in the sunlight, and it shines like a mirror, like a window. It's got like a nice gleam to it, hasn't it?
Chlorophyll. It's
chlorophyll.
Stuff,
Yes, chlorophyll is what gives it that particular shimmer, that nice reflecting sort of surface. When we got up to the ball patch, I noticed very clearly that the grass was more dull green. It didn't have that shimmer to it.
Right.
So it didn't have that. It's like the chlorophyll had been sucked out of it. It seems to be the same with the trees and everything else that it passed over.
So where is the ball patch?
We'll take you up to it now.
Let's go and look at that. Yeah. Where are we now, Gary? We've come a little way from the gate. And
we've come away from the first gate. This is the first field. We're coming up to the second gate now. Now, when I drew out my EMF map, just to sort of give people an idea of an indication of what we found, this is another field that we scanned, but if you look above your heads, obviously this is where...
Yeah, so we have like
power lines. That kind of didn't help us.
Yeah.
But Emlyn thought if I did have a map, fantastic readings.
Yeah, but that was a good field test for the actual thing we were using.
Yeah, because it's a good.
I don't know if camera can zoom in there. We're heading down towards the second gate.
So moving actually towards close to where you believe that the object.
This is where
your best estimate of the object.
Yeah. Black, after the barrels had left, because David said he saw 15 or 20 of those objects come out of the grass. So we walked down to his gate and pitch black. Neither of us had a torch. You can appreciate it's quite uneven and slippery underfoot in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
Now, Kaz and Dave will tell you what happened down here, but when we first arrived on the scene, the very first time I got here, I could see that, obviously this is a very large area, but you'll see something that I noticed when we got into the second field, and you'll see the tree line. There's definitely, I reckon there was signs of more EMF damage. And
right, so it's
something, because it was like, I want to just tell you, Kaz had already told us what this object had done. When it moved across the second field, it had come down in a sort of anti-clockwise motion, seemed to come to the right, forward a bit, and then back. And the third field is over. The second field is there. The third field is over there where the ball patch is.
Right.
And this is where we were detecting a lot of very strange high EMF signals. And when we sort of grid referenced the whole field again, there's those particular areas where we were finding a trail. And I thought that was strange. That is very strange because.
This is the field that the soldiers are camping.
Yeah, that was very odd, wasn't it? Because there was these strange guys turned up.
Men
how long,
and women, yeah.
How long ago? How long was that after the actual event?
Just a few days. I've got emails that I sent in March talking about them in past tense. So they were here in early March.
Right.
Straight after the incident. We've never had people camping here before or after. There wasn't any planning permission for these people. We've since had a Freedom of Information request back from the Ministry of Defence. They've claimed Section 26. We asked them why they were here to start with, and they denied having any information about it. We then asked them what they were doing, and they claimed Section 26.
This is in the public interest.
Not in the public
interest. So
Yeah.
basically, it's classified.
Yes, we asked them why they didn't have yellow caps in the end of their guns, bearing in mind that gunfire was heard in the early hours of the 26th of February 2016, but we don't know what they were shooting at.
Because the yellow caps are for exercise. When you load it, we've got blanks in it, haven't
Right,
we?
but they wouldn't then. And we asked them specifically why, and we were told Section 26 not in the public interest.
Really weird, isn't it? Yeah, very weird.
Very.
Okay, so we come through the gate. See that line of bushes? We come through the second gate that we showed you before. We're now into another little patch of meadow, and there's these plants
field.
here.
As far as the map goes, this is the second field.
This is the second field. So is this? Do you reckon we're close to where
This is the
that
area.
object came close to the ground?
Or
Or whether it landed?
That, no.
Did it actually land? Or?
If you look through the gap in the trees, you'll see an area of grass. Trees there. If you look through the gap of the trees here,
Yes, I see green patch of grass there. Yeah.
that's where the hand of lightning came down.
Right.
And if you see the trees in front where this thing went across, they are dead.
Yes, that's right. These two here.
Yes.
Those trees have been killed. Were they like? I mean,
No, they weren't before.
They weren't like
the very
before.
next
Yeah.
morning, they'd had all of the life sucked out of them.
Because all the other trees look alright. I mean, of course, it's hard to tell this time of year, but you can see there is like the remains of foliage on these trees here and here over here. But those two are dead. They're completely
They're
dead.
completely dead.
So they didn't sprout any leaves at all during the summer.
No, nothing.
Right. So this looks like almost like the hand of lightning.
The
sucked
EMF
here.
readings go across these fields, diagonally across this field, beyond those trees, and then turns and goes back towards the ball patch where that hand of lightning came down, because, as I said, the field rises there. Where I thought it was coming down, it was actually, the field was rising up to meet it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, well,
But the EMF readings were done, I didn't even know about EMF before Swansea got involved, or Gary got involved, and then when they found the trail of EMF that went through these fields, and there are no underground cables or pipes or anything that could give you a false reading. In fact, there's nothing here at all. We're on a mountain.
So the pyramid, the one point of the pyramid came close to the ground, and it was round about.
The corner of it, the right-hand corner of it, where it turned very slightly, turning slightly anti-clockwise as it turned to go backwards. It listed to the right-hand side, so that right-hand light was slightly lower than the rest of it, as it almost like the right-hand side was the steering mechanism somehow for this craft to move back. And as it got closer to the ground, this hand of lightning came out of it, I think to stop itself from touching the ground, and the whole thing lit up really brightly.
Oh, it's just like a interesting thing. I mean, if it had been an electrical discharge, you might get like burns.
That's what
like,
we expected.
Yeah, you get like burning, like you get with lightning, which can.
But it snowed in that field for 2 days after the event.
It's not. It doesn't look like a heat effect. It's not heat. It's something else.
For 2 days it snowed there, and it was unusual snow. Didn't snow in these fields or any of the surrounding fields, but it was snowing in that field.
Well, it's odd. It would. Yeah, and that was the strange stuff you squeeze
spongy,
between your finger.
yeah.
It disappears but doesn't melt.
The same snow was in Smalloak Woods at the crash site.
Right. Yeah, that's very. That's very strange that you have like that in Smalloak Woods as well.
Well, we managed to get that on camera, but
Oh.
we didn't think to No, I came out the next day for my own reasons, because I wanted to know,
Yeah.
not because I thought there was going to be a big investigation going on. The fields they were doing a fingertip search in was this field over here on the left,
Nice.
wearing forensic suits on their hands and knees.
That's odd, because these were the
military.
these were these strange people who turned up a couple of days
this would
later.
have been the first field that it was over when it came. Remember I said it was over to the left first?
Yeah.
By the time we got to the gate, it had moved across and in front of us, like it was coming in that way, through the portal that way, sideways, with a leading set of 6 lights on its underside, which were brighter than the rest. In fact, I could more clearly see those 6 lights than anything else until the whole thing lit up, and then I could see what it was.
So you came up here with your dog and you found these strange people. How many of these people were there?
There were about 15 or 20
And-
in total, men and women.
And they appeared, I mean, you described their uniforms on the radio show, I remember, and your first thought that they were Vodafone. What?
No, my first thought, because Steve was with me, and when we first got to the first gate, we saw 2 soldiers wearing full digital camos, carrying guns, and I made a point of saying to them, well, you need guns for that, do you? Because I was told they were doing a military exercise in case of an emergency situation.
So these were people wearing normal army uniforms?
Normal army uniform.
With weapons, yeah?
Yes, with weapons.
So they were not in disguise?
We went around and into their camp. Well, I started to go around the perimeter of their field to start with. And then I said to Steve, oh, come on, I want to get a closer look. So we cut across the field, and as we did so, this big dog had come out of one of the tents and charged towards us. So I asked Steve to pick my little dog up because I didn't want her to get bitten. And then shouted at the 2 men that I could see in the commanding officer's tent, you know, country boys, are you? And they were like, what? So I thought, that's my in, you know, I've gone up there and I'd had a conversation with him, said, you need to put your dog on a lead. This is lambing season. The farmer's got a shotgun, he's a very good shot, and he's not afraid to use it, you know? And then they told me that they were Vodafone. So within 10 minutes, we've been given 2 different stories.
Yeah. So you have like a...
So
You have 2
I
guys
asked
with
Gary, when he did the Freedom of Information to the Ministry of Defence, to approach it as a military exercise, because that's what we were told initially. And in fact, it was a military exercise, because only the military can hide behind Section 26 defence. But they won't tell us what they were doing, why they were here. It was totally unannounced. None of the residents were told. I certainly wasn't. But they were clearly carrying live rounds.
So these were like... their uniforms, they were from Vodafone. Did they have tents? And...
Oh, yes. Yes, they had 2 rows of bivvies that were absolutely precision struck. You couldn't get your foot between these tents. Every drawstring was precise. You can take the man out of the army, but you can't take the army out of the man. You could get 2 vehicles up through the centre of where they'd lined up their bivvies, and you had the equipment tent behind that, you had a canteen tent, and behind that you had the control tent where the commanding officer sat, who had some kind of large laptop device. It was far too big to have been a laptop. He had to use 2 hands to close the lid.
Some kind of electronic device.
But they had 3 of those, not just one. One in the commanding officer's tent, one on the bonnet of the Jeep, which is just down the end of this trail, and one in the field with them when they were searching for something specific. Hurry up, find it.
That was Donna's.
Yes.
So they had a very fierce dog. They had some guys with weapons, some guys openly in military uniform.
Yep.
And there was these other strange people.
And it seemed to me that the people in forensic suits didn't speak to the people in the red jackets, but they did take something away with them in a bag. And they were very... None of them behaved like normal civilians.
They seemed
kept,
secretive of each other as well.
you know, looking behind to make sure nobody else was watching what they were doing. If anybody walked down this trail, everyone would stop what they were doing, stand up and watch until you were out of sight. They didn't behave like civilians. You know, in the evening when we came to Skywatch, the guy that we spoke to, I've identified as a security officer, or that's how he identified himself to me, who I now believe is somebody completely different and to do with cyber security. When I said, are you here for the UFO? Oh no, we don't know anything about that. Speaking about himself in the plural.
Well, it's interesting that he said, we don't know anything. He didn't say, what UFO, what are you talking about?
Exactly. Any normal person
Is that a joke?
would have asked a question or have ridiculed the situation, but to instantly dismiss it and then not ask anything about it, I thought was highly suspicious.
If you hadn't have known, you would have gone, sorry, what do you mean?
UFO?
You know, something like that. I did the first I heard it. What do you mean a UFO?
So he's essentially saying...
Not like,
he
we don't
knows
know
there's a
nothing about
UFO.
that.
Yeah. We don't know... See, like, it's funny that...
Can I just explain what we found when we came... Well, once we met Kaz and Dave for the first time when we'd been through these fields and we had a layout of the area and understood what they'd seen. The first thing we decided to do is, right, we'll get an EMF meter down here, and I've spoken about this, but the very first time that we decided, right, we got to really search this area thoroughly. The field down there, to the beginning of the second gate, up until about this area here, we've sort of like broken it off into two halves, and we sort of went through it like that, you know, from starting from
In a
here,
grid formation.
and a grid formation going up to the left and like that, and then we did the other one. We didn't find anything down there, but when we got down to here, around this corner, right where we started, is where we started to get signals. So we'd go down, get a signal there, go up, get a signal, go down, nothing, and go up, get a signal, and we started to realise there's a line forming here, and what was interesting is that the line formed more or less from this area, starts to sort of like go in a curved formation, sort of straight but more curved.
So you're going over towards where the hand of lightning
And
comes
I
down.
don't know if you can see it from here actually, but there's a tree up there that's completely void of any leaves, and there's one next to it that looks like it suffered something similar. Now I don't know if that's natural.
Oh, is this the ones that Kaz pointed out over there?
Yeah.
I think they're over here, Gary. They're over there.
Diagonal from here, though, which is
Yeah, unfortunately the leaves are covering it right now, but you can't see it when you get over there. Now what's interesting is that when it goes into the next hill, we start to do the same thing again, break it into two sections, go up and down. On the right side of the third field, you can see the sheep over there through it. The signal goes to a point, then it starts to curve left, and then follows into the ball patch. Now what's interesting is that Kaz had told us that this thing, as I say, it came down from over there, sort of came around here, that moved forward and then back. Now that's interesting, right? Because when we're finding the signals and we finally map it out, it's like, wow, you know, there's a pattern to something that somebody just told us.
Vindicated when you found that. I actually felt
It was
vindicated
physical
because
evidence.
So yeah, it's electromagnetic anomaly.
with an actual device you can use for measurements. You know, and this meter that we use, I forget the name of it, but it's calibrated indoors and out. It is certified by the engine. Oh, it's got a CE certificate. I don't know what that. If you know what that means, like CE.
I'm not sure.
Made for purpose.
Basically, it'll do what it says on the tin, as they say.
Yes.
Now, that's very interesting because you're telling us that, we're learning that, and then we're finding it in the field with unless Kaz has gone through, you say, oh, a false electromagnetic signal there, and a false one there, and then we'll just make the whole thing up, you know. So, I mean, what's more obvious, you know?
I know. Yeah.
Is it an artificial signal of some kind, or was it something that was manufactured for a store?
That field that they were doing their fingertip searching.
So there's some guys in this field behind this hedge.
Yeah, you walk up, you can see
Yeah,
through
we see into that. It's interesting, like that they responded so quickly. So it was literally days after this event.
It was days after. They stayed for an entire week.
Kaz,
Yes.
given the amount of time, what do you want to do? Do you want to go in that field, or do you want to show them the ball patch area?
Well, we can just see. Let's just see. I'll see how we get on. But what's interesting is that, of the government, assuming the government knows about UFOs. I mean, this is something I've talked about a lot, and I think the answer is yes, they do.
Oh, absolutely, they do.
Assume they have this information. They're not keeping it from people. They have put together a kind of task force or group of experts, or to deal with this sort of thing whenever these sort of things happen. Which means this wasn't like a group of guys. The people you described that you saw sound like an established group of individuals.
From the information that I found out, there are 28 task forces that work specifically on watching for UFOs, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Now, as you know, a task force will consist of everything, from aircraft to military personnel on the ground.
Yeah, and the experts, the scientists and people like that who were in that field gathering the data. And of course this means the government has essentially a secret organisation within the government that deals with this sort of thing, which they keep it from the people, and they don't admit it, of course. It's not covered by the General Accounting Office, no doubt, but it has to exist. Yeah, it has to exist. Because these things, I've heard of things like this, these sort of strange people turning up. I'm not talking about the men in black, that's another matter.
Yes.
So we can have a look actually into the field where these strange people were. There's into this field
There's
here.
a gate down the bottom, but this field and the one next to it was where they did their fingertip search, wearing forensic suits on their hands and knees. And when we asked specifically in the evening, you can go through the gate at the bottom.
Go on, we'll go down.
We're going to look at the field, yeah. Okay.
What they were doing, we were told they were looking for mock mines. So I jokingly said, as they'd already been introduced to us as Vodafone, do you often send civilians to look for mines wearing paper suits.
Yeah. And what
It would be a sure way to find them.
why are Vodafones involved? Why would Vodafone be involved in searching for mines? That's another contradiction in your cover story. Yeah.
They have signed a deal with the military. They did that back in 2015. The interesting fact is that cyber security for me has a completely new meaning. Why this guy would go around the world, working for different governments, different countries.
You talk about a particular
Doing the
guy.
same, so
Yeah, no, because you actually managed to identify one of the people who was there.
yes.
And who's this? What's his name? Is it Mr. Krasnioy or something? Somebody Krasnioy.
Dr. Aspa.
We could talk about it later when we're indoors, if you like. And when we're indoors.
Dr. Krasny.
Dr.
He is
Stasma.
head of cyber security.
Back to Kaz's to talk to while we had
Yeah, well, afterwards. We can maybe meet up
Not
afterwards.
going back to my house.
I don't know where you're going.
No, probably go back to the pub.
So we come to the end of this lane. The field where the strange people were is on the left. The people who were doing the investigation.
Right.
Now they had a jeep. You said, like
They have multiple jeeps.
a
Well,
definite
one of them
military
they parked
vehicle.
Here, yes. And they had a tarpaulin up so you couldn't see what they were actually doing.
Right.
They had satellite dishes and aerials and these huge laptop devices that were not laptops. They were far too big in cases. One of them they had on the bonnet of their jeep. Was there were people in this field with another unit, exactly the same.
They were in here as well. They were.
Oh yeah, this field. This field on my left was where they were working, wearing forensic suits, searching the fields on their hands and knees.
Just to give
Through the gate.
viewers bearing, you've got to go back down this lane. We get to the gate where everything started.
Yes.
So it's basically becoming a straight line to where Kaz first saw the strange object.
There's a disused quarry behind us, right here. And Donna was able to get around and underneath these people that were on the other side of the barbed wire fence there. So she could hear what they were saying. The actual drop of the road is about 6 feet, so they couldn't see her. But I think she was quite brave to get that close to them.
Yeah. 'Cause they sound quite intimidating people. They've got big dogs. They're armed.
Yes. So they were here doing something.
Right, so this is where the abandoned quarry is.
Just
Yes.
down there,
It's a disused quarry. But Donna was able to get round onto this road underneath these people to get this
well done.
close to hear what they were saying.
What were they saying?
Hurry up, find it, find it. They were looking for something specific.
And they were in this field over here as well.
This was the field they were doing their
And then-
forensic searches in. This
Is that where their
field-
camps were? So they were camping there.
No, their camp was much further up behind the thicket of trees that I showed you in the beginning.
Well, they had quite a
Near the
quite a large area they were covering.
This craft was enormous.
What's,
This would have been the area where it first came into our world, if you like. So if any rocks or anything came in with it, it'd have been dragged through and dropped here.
Right.
Just sort of going more into EMF scans. I came around here again just as a sort of like recap, because I mean we've done those fields extensively, the ones that are mapped out. But the field there, that's through the gate now. That's where they were, weren't they?
They were there. They were here.
That field again has some very unusual signals coming from it, and it seems to follow a line that leads down into the fields where the actual thing was seen by Kaz and her neighbour Dave. So if it's a pyramid, it's sort of like up there, down there, and it's leading it, or its back edge comes over here somewhere. It didn't seem to move very far, did it? It just sort of
It
just
came
turned or went around.
It came in on the oblique angle, turning slowly anti-clockwise with this set of lights on its right-hand side being brighter than the rest. When it came in and righted itself, the green object shot out. Then it listed to the right-hand side and started to move backwards the way it had come. And
now-
it just disappeared.
Just to sort of reiterate on that, because on March the 6th, 2016, there was a person who was calling themselves Mike Hembry on the South Wales Awakening site. Bear in mind now, the Rich Planet Conference has already happened. The Q&As have already taken place. Somebody had written up a post to go on that site, and somebody had made a comment underneath. That was this Mike Hembry alias. Tinnacoid Road is just up behind that third field. Walking, no, you can't see it from here, but it's a road that leads up there and goes up behind these fields.
Adjacent to this.
He would have,
In line.
or she would have, been walking their dog, and basically the exact same, well, not word for word, but this description is 1 light and 3 pulsing, and then green orbs shooting out of it and everything else, and it's just like, it sort of went off into the northwest, which is over that way. He described the green object going that way and the planes following it, which is pretty much what Dave and Kaz have said to us. Now, you got to understand something. That's just a week after you came forward. So the question is, how did that person know?
Yeah. That is, and
It was after Wells Online lent for me. I'd
you know,
only made the 2 comments online.
It can't be
I
a
didn't
joke.
speak to anybody about it. I literally went underground. I didn't, you know, after their threats.
It can't
I
be
didn't speak to anybody about it.
It just can't be, you know, somebody messing around or looking to get some attention. You basically described word for word, more or less. So I'm just going to chew gum.
They saw the top, and I didn't.
Well, they saw the green thing, yeah, and they saw the pulsing of the lights.
You can see Smalloak.
Very good. Now we're going to come to Smalloak Woods later because this is a very interesting thing, but you can actually see it from here.
Oh, I think it might be over the ridge.
There's 2
We
sites
went
of
in that
interest.
direction over there, and Pentyrch is just over there,
Right.
just beyond the trees.
I had a look. I studied this area on a map, and I know Pentyrch, not for me, thanks, mate. Now, is to the northwest, and there's like there's a big hospital there,
Yes.
and which needs to, well, that will come up later, the hospital, because that's there's an important story connected to the hospital.
Yes, indeed.
But this is the area where it all happened. So very interesting. Okay. Carry on.
I was just going to say about the military timeline, just sort of throw some more interesting things on the fire, shall we say. The military were definitely coming around this area for 2 days, 3 days prior to the 26th. Now, I live in Treharris, which is about 20 miles in a straight line from here, somewhere in that zone. And I was seeing helicopters and planes, and many members of my family were saying the same thing, and people who lived in my neighbourhood, it's like, what's going on with the military? They seem to be here quite often. And obviously, I was in my house about 2:30 reading a book late at night, because I'm a sort of a nighttime reader anyway. I stay up many hours late at night because I can't sleep
Yeah, I know the
can't sleep
feeling.
that
Yeah.
much. So my mind just races too much. But anyway, so it's going to about 2:30. I'm reading a book and it's just like I can hear something coming in the distance. I thought, oh well, it's another helicopter, whatever. Yeah, it turned out to be a Chinook later. Came over my house and just rattled the windows and the doors, and I thought, well, he's low. But then it just went away, and I thought, okay, didn't think anything of it. So,
You go the first time, do you?
5-6 minutes later, I heard him coming again. I thought, what? You know, just as you do, you're like, well, what's going on? So it comes around again. About the 3rd time now, I hear him coming. I runs upstairs, grabs my camera, whatever cheapy camera I had at the time, and just thought, okay, we'll try and get something on video now. And I could see him, literally, he was flying so low, and he was almost touching the rooftops.
Blimey.
And I mean, I'm not kidding you, right? I could see him shining against the lampposts. That's how low he was.
They're going to be that low. I mean, that's.
And he was circling around to Ystrad Way, coming around over to
Plane, these helicopters took people's
Pontypridd.
tree tops out of their gardens.
now.
What are they doing that low? I mean, that's
The reason
dangerous to
I
fly that
mentioned,
low.
the reason why I
By the
mentioned,
sound of the explosion.
the reason why.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
I don't know if you've read the article or seen the. I think you've seen it.
I have,
but
yes.
Others who haven't seen the presentation. The military timeline is interesting because the 17th of February 2016, there was a notice to airmen put out in RAF Leeming. Now RAF Leeming is up in North Yorkshire. Oh, I'm sorry, North England, mate, sorry. Around North Yorkshire, I believe. Durham, yeah. Geography's not my strong point, but I know where this is. Anyway, so a week later, they're starting to bring Chinook helicopters, Lynx attack helicopters, Merlins. There's Apaches arriving at the place.
These are heavy, like gunships and things.
The two airplanes that were circling this area for 3 days arrived there on the 22nd, or arrived there on the 21st, and then set out to then make their way down here.
There's a physical energy in that place.
One,
Even today,
Right, over there.
that you can feel.
yeah, one particular
Over the ball
plane.
patch.
One particular plane went down to Plymouth, circled, and then went up a bit further around the Cornwall area, and then settled on this area. Never left it alone for 3 days. And
nights.
Snake, and nights, yeah. Snake and Jackal, as they were called, ZG996 and ZZ418.
Oh, you may know their numbers, yeah. You know, of course, there's someone on a flight radar, aren't they? You
Yeah,
can get
they
them
are
on
on
flight
flight
radar.
radar.
And to
Now-
this date, the Ministry of Defence have not acknowledged those planes were here at all. In fact, in the last freedom of information we asked
Yeah.
about why there was no NOTAM for them, they said they don't know anything about it.
I never thought I would be able to piece together the military timeline because, I mean, if they're not on radar or something to play back through, innit? You're not going to be able to do it. But thanks to websites where people have a sort of social blogging site, I was able to find out, you know, what these tail numbers were, where they were coming up to the day, and then by about the 25th, or leading into midnight of 26th, they just brought them all down here, outside of Brecon somewhere. I mean, some of them were already in Pentyrch before, and circling my area, of course. Now, it just seems to me like they were setting up a perimeter or getting ready, because they've been training the previous week up in Durham. Fast rope drops, low flying level attacks, fast moving, low flying altitudes.
Nothing written for South Wales until
And
9
yeah.
PM that night.
What's
And yet, it's like, finally now they've got some idea of what's going to go down, and then come around 2 o'clock, that E3 Sentry shows up. The planes are still in the air. The Hercules craft, the Hercules C-16s are there. The Apaches are already up. The Chinooks flying around 2:30. They were waiting and ready and trained for it.
This is very interesting. This is what you see with the Berwyn Mountains incident. You also see it with the Nottinghamshire case for 1987.
Yeah.
Is that somehow the government know in advance that something's going to happen. They don't know the exact spot, but they know the rough area.
They knew they were coming here.
Yeah, they knew roughly where it's going to be. And that's why you see the strange aircraft activity beforehand. They knew in advance that was going to happen.
And yeah, every attempt to get to the bottom of this so-called military exercise, you know, standard military exercise. And me and Kaz have talked about this. Said normally they would like somebody would do a little piece of the exercise and somebody else would do a piece of the exercise, train for their particular moments, yeah. But it all happened on the one night.
Oh,
Come 2:30,
Over 20
boom, they were all
gunships,
here,
yeah.
waiting and ready.
20 gunships all at the same time.
And no one was told in advance there was going to be any kind of military exercise.
Nothing was written about
Yeah.
this so-called exercise here. there
Because,
was an exercise
Not
listed
on paper
for...
or, you know, local. I
No.
did find something on a Facebook group, somebody who reckons there was a NOTAM put out for the 25th or, you know, or early 24th or late 24th.
Have we got time to see the ball patch, or is that too late now?
It'd be too late now.
No worries. It's okay. We have seen it from a distance.
I was hoping to take it up there, but we went down to the other game.
No problem, mate. I've first seen it from a distance.
I got pictures and videos of it if you want them anyway.
Oh,
so.
thanks.
But
Sorry? Yeah, no,
what
no
you would,
worries.
what
It's,
I was hoping to show you over it. Yeah, I don't know if you could see up to see where the fence line is, up on that field there.
Yeah.
That's Tinnacoid Road and it follows down here. So whoever this Mike Embry character is, he or she, because this wasn't their real name, that's where they were walking.
Right.
And they would have been seeing
Yeah.
it from this
I know
angle,
someone called Mike
and
Emery.
Kaz and Dave would have been seeing it from the gate. So
So see, it's independence.
Found out
it's two different
someone that's
viewpoints.
had an over-interest, shall we say, in the case. I won't say his name.
Nice.
But he is a pilot, which might go some way to explaining why he's not, or why he used an alias.
Yeah.
But he also has a dog, which is interesting because this Mike Embry is walking his dog
I've
that night.
identified someone who could fit the dogs.
Yeah. Strange thing, isn't it? Anyway, thanks for showing me this, guys.
Well,
Much appreciated. It's interesting to see this location where it
Maybe
happened.
we'll
I mean,
have a tour of this place one day, you know, the Pentyrch UFO tours. And
oh yeah, well why not? I mean, everywhere else does. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, there's nothing wrong with. You've already got the sign on the gate, so people can find it. So, but thanks very much. Much appreciated.
It was a big enough event to have compelled me to come forward.
Yeah.
And I was borderline agoraphobic.
I'm glad you
What we
did.
were like when we first met.
Thanks for coming forward.
Tell them what we were like when we first met. I was a skeptic.
Oh, Gary didn't believe me at all.
Towards the end, I didn't know.
Some of the information that he'd had
should I say?
came directly from Richard Hall. And unfortunately, as you know, Richard had told people he didn't know my real name, which was his reason for not investigating this, which we now know is not true.
And
But,
definitely later on also I want to explore more of his hypothesis, because Richard E. Hall has come up with an alternative hypothesis for this.
Yes.
And maybe later on we can have a talk about that, and maybe because I don't think it's true. I think he's wrong, and we
Well,
can
it
have a
certainly
discussion
doesn't
about
explain-
that.
You know, he's already told me what he's going to say. He's going to talk about quasi-crystal cloaking. and anti-gravitic drones.
Right, so that's...
Quasi-crystals, I've done some investigations into. And quasi-crystals, they do exist. It will make you invisible. But it doesn't have the ability to make you visible again. Also, we don't have anti-gravitic drones. We have drones, but not anti-gravitic drones.
Right.
So what were these barrels that were the size of a small car, that were completely silent, no downdraft, nothing, that came and scanned us afterwards?
Very strange, that, yeah.
You know?
Definitely. We'll go into that in more detail in a little while. But first of all, we're going to go and see another location, which I think you'll find interesting. Now that dark hill there, covered by woods, that's Smalloak Woods.
Yeah.
You see it through there. Looks very spooky, doesn't it? All dark and looming.
The backside of the commons over that way.
Oh, that's interesting. It's like there was an explosion. You see, yeah. There was an explosion on.
There was an explosion felt behind the back of the Royal Glamorgan Hospital when people were either working that night. One particular person who I managed to, well, I spoke to their daughter. He was a patient at the hospital, and her daughter was saying that she said to him, or he said to her, sorry, that there was gunfire heard,
right,
and explosions and a lot of low-flying activity. And now this guy is a former RAF man, and he says he's dealt with weaponry and ordnance before. And I think we're going the right way, we're not too far away. Yeah, so what's happened is, as far as I can tell, from everything that I've gathered, is that the explosions happened on the common, which is over that way, the Royal Glamorgan Hospital behind us, and then something has gone flying down this area, broken some trees and canopies, because Kaz and her friends took photographs of all that.
Yeah.
And it's left a trail of debris which led into the area which we're going to be visiting now.
Right.
Then to the streets.
So we're going down that way.
You're going down where
It's a small little place, Anismardi, small little
This
place.
is at Anismardi now, where you're in.
Right.
Yeah, this is where we're going. I think there's a car park up here somewhere.
And we're heading, and it's a bit of a bumpy track. We're going to head up into the dark, spooky woods. They do look dark and spooky, Smalloak Woods. And we'll show you some of the strange things that are there.
This is where me and Emlyn came the first time.
Harry, this is a lovely place. A couple of people have been riding their bikes.
Oh yeah, it's a lovely spot when you come up
This
here.
is Smalloak Woods.
This is Smalloak Woods. Smalloak Wood,
Yeah.
it's called. And this is where the journey of Kaz and Donna and Steve and Dave actually began.
Right.
Now, the very first time we came up here, what they were discovering is that when they were walking down the common, which is more behind the Royal Glamorgan Hospital.
So where is the hospital from here?
It was back that
It's back there, yes, back over there near Anismardi.
It's hard to get your bearings around here, actually.
Yeah, but it's back the way we came. But it's like, this is really spooky. I mean, I'm sure this is like big British Bigfoot territory if Deborah Hatswell's watching.
Well, I'm sure that some people will have some fun here, but no, what they discovered was, when we got up here, is Kaz thought that something had impacted this area, and they were looking for an impact site. Now, what they discovered not long after they got up here, I think they may have been leading not too far from where we are now, is that there were canopies over there.
I see.
Canopies up to the left of this fork, this turn now, where trees, this wasn't sort of the case though. The trees had been snapped to branches as high as up as where they were,
Right.
which led a trail to where we're going now. Now they didn't take the route we're taking, they took the trail route, you know, they brought their friends up, of the ones who would, one of them was Dave who witnessed it, the other two were the ones who witnessed all the snow and the burn marks in the field the very next morning when the sun came up. And this is they came up here on the 26th and the 27th, and they discovered a lot of interesting things.
Right. Well, I'll have a look around here, because like, this is quite recent. I mean, this is not like some of the other places I visited where there's been alleged UFO crashes. Yeah. This is just over 2 years old. Almost 3 years. Close to 3 years old.
What's I mean, because when you look at a lot of sightings, especially in Britain, I mean, probably the last one that was significant in a wood was probably Sheffield, maybe.
Yeah, Sheffield incident.
If I looked into that a bit, I mean, again, there's talk of military in that one, strange activity seen by people you know, craft-wise, lights, and there's evidence of explosions and things crashing through the trees. I think in that one, somebody mentioned they found parts of a jet, didn't they?
Yeah. And there's a local guy in that area who's covered it. Can't remember his name now. He spoke at Probe once.
What's that?
He spoke at the Probe conference.
All right.
But yeah.
I know he's been interviewed on it numerous times. But, yeah. I mean, it's not too much of a trip, as you can see. We're in a very hilly wood.
Beautiful here, look. It's absolutely beautiful. It's spooky though.
Yeah.
It reminds me a bit of that film Severance.
Something I can show you. I'm surprised it's still there. See that yellow tape on that wood, on that tree log
Keep
there?
off log stacks. Yeah. Where?
Apparently, that tree there.
Oh, that, yeah.
On it,
That yellow tape there.
that's, something like that was seen on many of the trees, which led pretty much into the area where we're going to be going now.
Right.
The military, according to what I can understand, came up here, shut this whole area off, so nobody could get in or out. The roads are blocked off, paths are blocked off. Those who could see into this area said there were helicopters flying very low around this part. And the military were there until maybe just gone 7.
Right.
So what was interesting is that it wasn't just after the explosion that was heard and felt by many, but especially if you were in the Royal Glam, the people who saw it, or should I say heard and felt it, said that there was a second one, which came about 3 to 5 seconds later. And where we're going to go now, I truly do believe that's where the source of that second noise came from.
It's interesting that there were like, so there was a loud explosion, sounding like a detonation of some kind of warhead ordnance, some kind
Very powerful.
in the sky, and then another one which could be interpreted as a crash. We don't know if that's the case, but
the interesting thing is, from people's comments and statements and things people who've talked to me, it's like the first one is unanimous.
yeah,
Nobody denies that.
shook the entire building
Showed the
apparently.
entire building of the Royal Glamorgan Hospital and surrounding houses around the common and other neighbourhoods. Now, I don't know what this. I mean, I know the military were responsible for it because I sent in a Freedom of Information request to the National Geographic Survey, or the British Geological Survey, I should say. And they sent me, when I asked for, seismological readings from the South Wales area. Now, their closest station to this place is 40 miles up in Monmouth, northwest of this location. And it recorded a signal just after 4:20 a.m, which was around the time people were telling me, telling Kaz and everyone else, that this is where loud explosions were heard. Now, something that many people don't seem to notice, or don't understand anymore, is that there was also a smell of sulfur in the air for a number of days afterwards.
That's strange.
Well, it's interesting because you're in the area now where we met 2 people who were walking their dogs, and we just asked them, you know, do you remember what happened around here? And I said, when we mentioned explosions, they said, oh yeah, something about sulfur and all that, and smoke, and it was around here for some time. And I'm thinking, well, what causes explosions, shakes buildings, leaves seismological readings, somehow leaves a trail of debris through the woods for someone to follow, and then suddenly causes the woods to be shut down for a number of hours while people are seeing strange lights and large craft floating in the fields of Pentyrch not too long before.
Just seems too many different factors brought in together, converging onto this narrative that we've talked about.
Well, this is something that I want people to understand from my point of view. When I was investigating it with Sufan, and Kaz and their friends were very active in finding information for us as well, because it was a joint team effort. But you know, me and Kaz were very, very determined to get to the bottom of it. So I thought, wow, this is really, really amazing stuff. Out of breath.
Yes.
Trying to talk
Bit of a
more
climb,
at the
isn't
same
it?
time.
Sorry, mate, it's quite
There's
a
stuff
climb.
around here now.
Yeah, but it's so interesting.
Yeah, so all this other evidence they collected early on, such as the video of the area we're going to see, the weather data for the Lancaster area at that time suggested conditions like we have now. A little more windy, cloudy, not raining or snow. Just basically typical British winter weather.
Yeah.
But it was like a blizzard up there.
Really heavy snowfall.
Very thick, very heavy, and you can hear it hitting the camera. Doesn't sound like snow, it sounds more like...
Is this... so we've already discussed snow in this film, haven't we? The snow that fell around near where the first sighting had a Pentyrch.
Yep.
But is this snow similar?
According to those 4, yes, it was very similar. You could pick it up, it was very marshmallowy. Had a sort of solid marshmallowy ball kind of feel, like a polystyrene ball. But it wouldn't melt right away, you know?
But it disappeared, didn't melt?
It disappeared, yes.
Into liquid, it just vanished.
Just sort of
It evaporated.
melted away.
Very strange.
So we're coming up to there. Now this area here used to be all trees.
Right.
And was home to some very healthy plant life, you know, trees wise, I can see all else around here. But all this area was cut down in, say, June, July, August of 2017. Now, if I point where your finger is, where you see the bended trees there?
Yeah.
That's the impact area.
Right. So something came down here. This is very like, this reminds me of the case in Nottingham at the Thieves' Wood in Nottingham.
Now, they followed the debris trail, not the trail we're taking, but they followed it through the woods and all the way here until finally they got to what they wanted to see.
Alright, so this is, well, we will hopefully have some more footage of this for this video, but this is the actual, so something came to grief here.
Yeah.
And, well, luckily there's already a road they can use, but, so did the government come along and take it away?
Looks like it, yeah. Basically, from St. Athan blogs of, you know, people who like to record military vehicles and what comes in and out, they said it was coming from St. Athens to this area at least 3 times, and it was followed by Dave, one of the main witnesses. He said that this time there was 2 Apaches, not 3.
Yeah, it looks like it's. Yeah, I can see there's some trees have been cut in this area. It's definitely a sign
They've
of.
been felled, but they haven't been
cut,
sanitised or cleansed or removed or anything.
Sorry, I don't think we can get in there. Maybe not. We may not be able to get in there.
You can to your left, but
So I'm not going to go. I just want to get into it. I'm not going to go right all the way up there. But this is like.
I'll tell you what I've done. Again, all around these areas, good reference, but this area in particular, back and forth and down. I found a signal. I followed from that impact all the way down to that area. So that would have been that's where the Royal Glamorgan Hospital in Lancaster Common is.
Right.
So that's
interesting.
piece of evidence that ties in with everything.
So again, that's the track of the alleged object.
That's the part that more or less followed, I reckon.
Yeah. Well, we have here like well, certainly the ground is sort of like it's ground up very much. There's some stumps which have obviously been cut. There's some all this brushwood here.
Basically, they were told it was a sanitised famine for large disease.
Yeah. Another thing that's weird. Another thing that's weird, which Kaz told me, is that this area was used a lot for fly tipping, and the local people were onto the council all the time about getting this cleared up. Please, could you get this rubbish out of our woods? And they didn't do anything about it. But then, of course, what happened was when this object hit in 2016, the next time people were allowed in it publicly, all the rubbish had been cleared out.
That's on the Lancaster Common, yeah.
Oh, Lancaster Common, all right.
Yeah, I actually sent in an FOI about that one to the MOD. Can you please tell me why military personnel was seen collecting metal on the Lancaster Common during the time this alleged exercise was going on? Section 26.
All right, need to know. Not in the public interest to know, right?
These photographs are on I forget his name. But there is, what's his name? Dave had his phone as well.
Right.
Basically, he photographed it, and his phone had cut out the very next day.
Oh.
We haven't been able to recover the memory from the chip site.
Very strange indeed. Okay, so how much of this you can see, and there's some lumps in the ground. It's like there's some grass. No trees. You can see there's a very distinct spot where the trees have been taken. Yeah. Very odd. Right. So this possibly is somewhere is a site of a UFO crash.
I believe so.
Yeah. that's it's like Thieves Wood in Nottinghamshire, where I went to investigate the Nottinghamshire case, and it's like. Yeah, there are many similarities actually between the two. There are many similarities between the two, Gary, and not least the presence of government forces in the area before the event happened. Yeah, but it's like, I mean, how they knew this was going to happen, I don't know. That's the big mystery. I mean, how do they know this was going to happen?
This military tape.
Oh, there's our yellow tape again.
Apparently that was found on a number of trees leading into this area, and what we suspect is that that's military tape. And they've obviously tied that up there to say this area has been searched, or
Right.
you know, this is the path of interest. I don't know exactly why, but there it is.
Yeah.
Again.
Very strange.
Yeah. There's an EMF trail that leads in. There's an EMF trail around. And when we get around this corner now, I found another one.
Right.
But what I find interesting is what's going on there. I mean, it's
Yeah.
as you see, the mountain bike trail.
As you see, it's a place. It's a like Rendlesham Forest. It's a mecca for mountain biking around here. So we were kind of it's quite a large area that's been stripped.
Oh,
It's been sanitised.
This particular area of interest to them.
It's hard to know how big the actual object was when it came down.
Well, maybe as big as the.
Could be as large as this area, could be smaller. It may have just had a hit, there may be some kind of heat effect like you see at Nottinghamshire. It's hard to say. There's an existing road they could access, the area's logging road.
Just out of curiosity, whatever I could scan, the push there. Managed to scan a trail.
Yeah.
The leg down here, just to the corner there.
And there's an EMF trail here.
Yeah. I don't know if it's there now.
Yeah.
But I mean, people ask me how do I explain that? I can't really, but what I think happened is, if you just want to suggest that something has gone flying through there, impacted it, and then my guess is maybe some of it was laid out here for collection. You know?
Yeah. And they were just getting rid of, I mean, the fact they were clearing up metal and stuff from the Pentyrch Sand Common is because the metal, of course, has a big. It has like an influence on electromagnetics. So if you've got a load of rubbish in your local area, you want it cleared up, ask the UFOs to crash there, and the council will forget their previous reticence and they'll go in there and they'll get rid of all of it. Oh, interesting stuff, yeah. All right.
So we're heading up now. So we're heading up now to the point where we think the impact site. Well, I definitely think, because there's no other explanation for it.
Okay. Yeah.
This is where Kaz and her friends all arrived.
Yeah.
And as you can see, these areas this is the area here.
Right, what's here then? Is this
Right, this is the area.
something hit here?
This is where we think something hit. Oh, excuse me, my camera is playing up.
So, my battery's almost gone, it's draining very quickly. It's very strange.
Right, okay.
Didn't disturb these trees.
This is it. Yeah. Since then, of course, some trees have regrown,
Yeah.
ferns have regrown, but you can see snapped branches, snapped trunks.
Yeah.
By here, look again.
There's a snapshot, look at that.
Snapped. This.
Oh, yeah.
I think that one may. This bend was already on that tree before that even happened.
Right.
But what Kaz, my friend, found. Let me see if I can find what we're looking at again. Looks like some of the trees have been taken away.
I think that just belongs to one of the bikers. I'll just leave it there. Belongs to one of the bikers.
Anyway, in this area we're looking at, some of the trees had white scorch marks on them, pinkish white scorch marks.
That's what you see in Thieves Wood in Nottingham. Yeah, same thing. The scorch mark.
This is where the snow was as well. If you were filming here,
So snow all over the ground. There's snow
No
or
snow, but like,
snow-like substance.
falling like a a blizzard would in a very blustery snowy day.
Again, very recent. This is 2016. not long ago, just under 3 years. Beautiful view from here, see?
Oh yeah,
Lovely view from here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that's some interesting.
I've got to focus now. So, yeah, we came up here. Those two bends there was already there. This one as well, but the other trees, as you can see, it's 1, 2, 3.
Snap there. That one's snap. Is that one there? Snap?
6 or 7. Yeah, about 6 or 7 snap trees, and 2 of them were laying down where this evergreen sort of tree is now. They were laying flat down, and what's happened is that it's coming through this direction, impacted here, snapped them, and of course, you know, they've come up here on the various days, and they've made some very interesting discoveries. I mean, as Kaz would say, one tree is almost a big thing to talk about. As you can see, look how big there. But to snap 6 or 7 of them is just ridiculous, you know.
Yeah.
Something big and heavy came in here.
Oh, it's very strange, yeah. All right.
The other thing as well, so yeah, this is where we got the EMF signals again, all in this area. I mean, a lot of it since grown way back, and something I did to try and make sure that the certain trees weren't like this to begin with. I checked, because there's a bike trail up there and a bike trail up there, so people ride their mountain bikes, as you just saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, these trees weren't perfectly fine before, and there was a ramp, a pallet ramp somewhere around with there, which a person named Oscar Green said he came up on the 26th or 27th and it was completely smashed to pieces.
Oh, I see.
So something else had. I tried to ask him, you know, do you know why that may have happened? His idea was that the council must have done it.
Yes. It's probably the fact that it happened at the same time in the same place indicates there may be another explanation.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff, mate. Interesting stuff.
Wide lens with this kind of picture.
Well, this is a possible, ladies and gentlemen, another UFO crash. I'm actually here with Gary Jones, and we've just seen this. This is Smalloak Woods in South Wales, and well, it's reason to believe that some large object came down here and was secretly salvaged by the government.
Something else I should point out as well. So one of the trees had a. You can see it in the video that was recorded. One of the trees, I think it was about there, had a gouge taken out of it, and it was enhanced in one of our slides.
Right.
That tree was taken down and carted away. Now I can't see. There were 2 trees. One they had. Oh, I think that's over there, isn't it? This place has changed a bit. There was trees here. Had 2 pink scorch marks on them. Maybe them ones there, or they forked inwards. I don't know where they've gone. Looks like they. Yeah. No, but they had clear, distinct scorch marks on them. You know, it's like someone's come in here and heat or something irradiated that portion of the tree.
Yeah, that's what you get from inoculants.
I mean, to me, this is one of the more. I mean, obviously the big thing happened down in the Pentyrch fields, but as far as the evidence goes for trying to convince someone, there's more evidence here to prove. You know, because there's film footage of the actual weird blistery weather conditions, snapped trees, the presence of the army being here, the explosions not too far away, the EMF that leads down to where the hospital in the common is, why they're searching there and not telling us why. I mean, you add it all up and something's very, very strange.
Yeah, it does sound like that, yeah. Oh, thanks for showing me this, Gary. Yeah. Much appreciated, mate. So this is a possible, and I think, well, there's a lot of evidence to suggest it is, UFO crash site here. Quite something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
No problem.
Hello again. Yes, I'm back here with Kaz. We've done a lot today, haven't we? We've been through an awful lot.
We've been everywhere today. He's dragged me from pillar to post. I'm exhausted.
But it's been fun. We've been through the whole scenario of what happened on that particular day, 26th, wasn't it? 26th of February.
Early hours, 27th, yeah.
And we wanted to cover a couple of other issues. Now, one of those is that there is an alternative hypothesis to what we've been talking about, the narrative that we've been putting across. And this is one proposed by Richard D. Hall of Rich Planet. And he is stating that this is actually not anything perhaps as strange as we thought it was. It's something like he essentially says it's kind of military exercise, isn't it?
He does say that, yeah. He implies that it's one of ours that's got into trouble. And I believe in his new video coming out that he will imply that it's a TR-3B.
This is an anti-gravity spacecraft.
A triangle, yeah. And as much as I've never seen a TR-3B, so hands up for that, guys. I have to say that since it's been declassified, I've done some research into it, and it does not fit the description of what I saw that night. I saw a pyramid, not a triangle. I saw two sides of this pyramid, and it was huge, like a high-rise building. This was not the TR-3B, and certainly I don't think the TR-3B flies in the upright position, flies flat, and is not capable of jettisoning smaller craft. Another thing that's going to be insinuated is that it was anti-gravatic drones and quasi-crystal cloaking. Well, in both counts, one, we don't have anti-gravatic drones, or we would be using them, and two, quasi-crystals, they are real and they will make you invisible, but they haven't got the ability to make you visible again. So you are either invisible with optic camouflage, or you are visible. You can't be both.
Well, this is the negative refractive power of these things that we're talking about. Yeah, Andrew,
Right.
he had Andrew Johnson on his show the other day talking about this. Now this is interesting because the secret space program, of course, is a real thing. Yet it doesn't mean that extraterrestrials are not real.
Right.
And if something is the secret space program, and I'm no doubt we do have craft that are not available to the public, which are far superior to anything that is available. For instance, the rockets like the space shuttle or something like that. Well, that's the equivalent of a horse and buggy compared to what the secret space program has.
Yes.
However, they would still have certain characteristics. For example, something like the TR-3B, which Ed Fouché talks about, and I've reason to believe it's real.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like what you saw, and also it wouldn't be appearing above a valley out of a cloud of mist in South Wales. It would be something that would be tested in a very remote location like Area 51 or Porton Down, or Boscombe Down rather, and
Well, certainly it's been implied this was a rescue mission, but I haven't been on many rescue missions where at the end of the day they shoot it down. So the huge pyramid itself didn't stay visible for very long. Some people have implied that perhaps it was cloaked, and I question if it was cloaked, why did it decide to uncloak in the middle of a military ambush? Or secondly, why didn't it remain cloaked if it was cloaked? This thing emerged, it didn't appear. It emerged gradually, like it came through a mist or a fog that wasn't there, into our world. And when it was fully here, then it righted itself. Why didn't it right itself before? Why didn't it jettison its craft before it was visible? All of these questions. This was a huge pyramid, on a pyramid scale. That jettisoned smaller craft the size of a small car, a little bit bigger than a smart car if you're in the UK. So quite huge for a smaller ship to have come out, you know. And these things were smooth, like barrels, that had black caps on the top and on the bottom that seemed almost glass-like. I don't know what they were made of. You could see all these little black dots jumping around, and they didn't make a sound. There was no downdraft, no air motion, absolutely nothing. We don't have this, as far as I know, even within the secret space program. We do not have these anti-gravitic drones. I don't know what it was that I saw, but I do know this. It was not of this world.
it wouldn't explain those strange people who were turned up to search for things afterwards. That's another weird thing. We showed you the fields earlier on where these very mysterious people were there. Funnily enough, I was talking to some of the bar staff here, and this one of the barmaids told me she remembers the aircraft. She didn't see the craft that you saw, but she remembers the aircraft, the helicopters and the planes, and she also remembers the strange people in the field. And she thought it was a film crew filming Doctor Who, because they'd filmed Doctor Who around here before.
Up on the Garth Mountain,
Yeah.
they filmed Doctor Who.
And she just assumed it was the same thing, but of course, Kaz, who took a closer look, realised it wasn't. And,
We've had a Freedom of Information request back from the Ministry of Defence, and very recently, and we asked very specific questions because it's pointless beating around the bush anymore. So we asked the Ministry of Defence, why they were here, and the Ministry of Defence said that they had no information in the scope of our request. So we asked them what they were doing here, and they claimed Section 26, not in the public interest. And we also asked why they were, or why they didn't have yellow caps in the end of their semi-automatic or automatic weapons, to imply they were carrying blanks. And again they claimed Section 26, not in the public interest, that only the military can hide behind Section 26. So clearly they were military, and in my opinion they were carrying live rounds.
No, that's not, obviously this is not an exercise. Now, the fact this, another thing when it comes to military exercises as well, comes from the local hospital, the Royal Glamorgan Hospital, which was actually caught up right in the middle of this, because there were several large explosions and loud sounds and vibrations which affected that hospital directly. And you actually made some personal inquiries into this, didn't you?
I spoke to several members of staff at the Royal Glamorgan Hospital who were working that night on different wards, and many of them report the building shaking, physically shaking. One patient was physically shaken awake in his bed. That's how violently the building shook.
It could be dangerous for some patients, being in intensive care, for example.
Indeed. There were no prior warnings for the Royal Glamorgan Hospital. Their switchboard was phoned after the explosion. There were no warnings given out beforehand. So anybody going under any type of surgery, especially neurosurgery or heart surgery, could have suffered a stroke, or God forbid it be fatal.
It could kill people.
It could have absolutely killed people, and the Trust were not notified, even though now they're trying to say that the police told them that there'd be something going on, that there'd be a police exercise going on. But a police and military thing are two completely.
And that's all backfilling. That's just they're trying to put in data after the event and make it look like it was there before.
Right.
But I mean, I myself have taken part in these kinds of exercises because my own hospital was involved in them, and there's going to be a big paper trail. And it's all going to, if there was some kind of exercise, it would have to have been agreed beforehand with the hospital authorities. And indeed, there would be all the documents would be there, and they'd not be classified. They'd be easy to obtain. But you have not managed to obtain anything that indicates that.
They told us that an email was sent out at the time to relevant staff members. Well, if they received prior notification, why was it necessary to send out an email at the time? Especially as this at the time was after the explosion that we know happened at 4:21 a.m.
Now, I mean, Richard D. Hall, he made a Rich Planet show about this, which seems to consist of him riding around on his bike, and he talks to some guy with some homing pigeons, and he sits in his tent and he has a rant about Brexit.
Okay, little correction here. Richard was actually not in his tent, and I make the same mistake later on in the film. Say that he was in a tent. He's actually lying in the grass. Very, very strange. Is that the Mandela effect? I'm sure he was lying in a tent when he did his little rant about Brexit, which is very, very odd indeed. I thought, oh, that's strange. Yeah, well, Richard did like a little, went round on his bike as well. He did visit the hospital, but nothing that he actually did in his little investigation here, I think, stands up to scrutiny when you take into account Cass's information and the material that backs it up that I talk about in this film. So, sorry Richard, I don't know why I thought you were in a tent. Or maybe you were in another dimension, and this is the Mandela effect. Funnily enough, later on in this film, you'll see another example of the Mandela effect actually in Cardiff itself.
It's completely irrelevant.
That was his investigation into the Pentyrch incident, guys. We're over a year in now to this investigation, even though the event happened over 2 years ago. And we're still getting information in. We're still getting witnesses coming forward. There may potentially be another witness that has a photograph, so we're trying to track this person down now, which could be amazing, but it would be a photograph of a green object. But this gentleman does say that this UFO was green, so we now know that perhaps he might be right. And it does show the 2 Apache helicopters behind it.
Yeah, right, so that's...
And not 3, because one of them obviously got caught in this kinetic wave.
I'd like to
Richard should dwell on these things, because Richard has allowed you to speak on his stage. He allowed you to have a Q&A, and it's twice now he's allowed that.
Yeah, the first time I went to see him in 2016, I went just to tell him specifically what I'd seen. I was in a mess. I didn't know who to speak to, and I certainly didn't know Richard. What I didn't expect was to be mobbed by the whole crowd afterwards, because I didn't know the seriousness of this. I do now. And then again in May, I went up to his conference where he allowed me to speak at the end of his show, because there'd been a lot of allegations made, and certainly by Richard himself, that I was mistaken, that I didn't see what I thought I saw when I did. And that was one of the reasons why I took a lie detector test with the most prominent forensic polygraph examiner in the country.
And you passed it.
Passed.
I've seen the documents, and you definitely passed that test. And so really this is something that should be taken more seriously than it is by most people, I think. And I mean, it's nothing. I don't think it's anything related to the Royal Mint.
Oh, it's absolutely not. We asked them, and they told us it had nothing to do with them.
And again, in terms of the NHS, there would be no declassified. There'd be completely open and non-classified material available, which would easily prove this was the case. What we're looking at here is a cover-up. I think the whole idea that they're now saying it was some kind of exercise is a cover-up for something else. Richard, unfortunately, seems to be going along with this, or he's saying it's something to do with one of our craft. I mean, he seems to be saying this a lot. I mean, he talks about the Berwyn Mountains incident on his last programme, and he said that the spherical object that they saw, it was some kind of anti-gravity drive, because it's similar to a smaller version that was found on this small craft called the Dart. Now, of course, that could be possible. It's always again, these things are possible in that circumstance, but I think in your case it's different. In this case, it's a different kettle of fish altogether. And again, I think Richard is speculating a lot there.
Well, Richard wasn't there, in fairness, and I was there with another witness and potentially a third witness that saw it from another angle. What I saw was not a TR3B, even though genuinely I've not seen one. This was a pyramid. The TR3B is not pyramidal in shape, and this pyramid had a curved bottom to it. And to jettison 15 or 20, I mean, I could exaggerate and say maybe 100 of these things, but no, it was 15 or 20 of these car-sized, barrel-shaped objects that changed colour. They were not lanterns or anti-gravitic drones. This thing one of them came right over the top of us and stopped and changed colour. I don't know what it was, but it certainly wasn't one of ours, and the pyramid itself went back the way it came. When it neared the ground, this plasma ejection came out of it to stop itself from touching the ground, and the whole thing lit up really brightly. It was impossible for anyone to be mistaken. It was a pyramid.
That's very odd. I mean, I think the big question that I can't work out is there was some kind of foreknowledge on the part of the government. Now, I don't know, they don't know exactly where this incident was going to take place, because otherwise they'd have had some troops on the ground in the field. They'd be able to have people exactly in the right place. But they knew within a certain area that something strange was going to happen in that area. They knew a few days beforehand. This is where all the aircraft had to be. And as I said, one of the barmaids here remembers the aircraft. People around here knew there was a lot of aircraft. So they had some sort of foreknowledge that something was going to happen roughly in this area. You see the same thing in Nottingham in 1987, and you see the same thing in the Berwyn Mountains in 1974. I mean, I don't know how, that's the question. Whether some aliens phoned up and said, one of our things is coming your way. It's going to land somewhere around here. But they had the forces forward. They'd never be able to respond that quickly if it hadn't been for that.
I never saw any aliens. Especially Spielberg's funny-looking aliens. No, there were none. I saw lights. I saw craft that were smaller, that were under some kind of intelligent control. I didn't see any hostility from them, but I did witness that both sides seemed to know what was going to happen. The military settled here for 3 days and 3 nights. First they checked out Plymouth, and they checked out the other side of Dartmoor. They were also checking up in Durham, where this exercise chameleon took place. They came to Pentyrch and they stayed in Pentyrch for 3 days and 3 nights. So as much as they knew it was coming. When this little plane, this ZZ418, was taken out of service in 2011 and brought back into service in 2014, and it had been refitted with some newfangled forward-facing infrared systems and other reconnaissance and surveillance equipment that is more top secret than the E3 Sentry plane. I can find out more information about our NATO E3 Sentry plane than I can about these little grey planes that were here for 3 days and 3 nights.
So they used their most secret assets, intelligence and reconnaissance assets, to scope out this particular case.
Right.
So the government took this very seriously.
Well, certainly the Ministry of Defence, to this date, and in our most recent MOD Freedom of Information request, have denied those planes were ever here, and yet we can prove they were. Not only with their radar tracking, but with the witness testimonies that saw them.
Weird, isn't it? I mean, there's all kinds of other strange things. I mean, we talked about the people who are probably MOD personnel who are up in the field. So we have an organisation within the government, a secret organisation within the government that's established. They didn't just throw a few people together when this happened, because they were there within a couple of days and they knew what they were doing. It was obviously an organisation that already existed before this event happened. So the government have an active, long-running organisation that deals with UFOs, which they keep completely secret from the people.
Right.
And there's several other things as well. There's the Welsh Extremist Monitoring Group or something.
Welsh Extremist Anti-Terror Task Force, or Counter-Terror Task Force, or something like that. And it was the Royal Mint that was kind enough to tell us about them. When we asked the Royal Mint whether or not they were involved in this exercise, they denied that it had anything to do with them, and told us then that it was this Welsh Anti-Terror Task Force that had advised them that this exercise was going on. They are a privately owned company, paid for with taxpayers' money, that are in charge of our police and our military and can hide behind Section 26, but we cannot send them a Freedom of Information request because they're a private company.
And it sounds like it's a front organisation. I mean, Welsh.
The Men in Black.
Yeah, I mean, as far as militant Welsh nationalism goes, there were incidents in the 1960s and 70s where there were organisations that will burn down cottages and they'd sabotage railway lines and things like that. There are a couple of attempted bombings and things like that. But today, there are no Welsh extremists now. Leanne Wood is about as hard as they get. It is literally that is a Welsh extremist in the modern world. There's no need for a Welsh extremist anti-terror task force. That very dramatic name is quite clearly a front for something else.
Right. So
it's obviously some kind of military-industrial contractor, quite clearly.
Like cyber-security, Ben, has a completely different meaning to me now.
Yeah, exactly. Like this, they've actually brought this Hungarian expert. He's world-leading authority.
SASPA certainly had something to do with it, because it was on the letterhead that they left behind.
You can Google it, can't you? Saspa Krasnoi. Krasnoi.
Is it Krasnoi?
Sorry, any Hungarian viewers who I mispronounced that if you're Hungarian, but he is. I mean, he's got like a big page, and
He's the world leading brains on cybersecurity. He's written several books. He is a hacker. Enjoys employing other hackers, and does this cybersecurity. That's the cover story, guys. Across the world in different countries under different governances. But we all seem to have the same cybersecurity, which I think is a little odd. But after what I saw here, cybersecurity has a whole new meaning to me now.
Yeah. They brought this guy in to this little village in Wales, this world-leading expert on cybersecurity, and I can't believe I'm trying to think why they would do that, and obviously they wouldn't do that for some kind of exercise.
Especially an exercise that was never listed, and still isn't listed even today. In fact, if it wasn't for the few photographs that we have, and now the Freedom of Information, there would be no evidence those people were ever there.
Yeah. So I'd say Richard D. Hall, he's done some good work over the years. He's
Fantastic.
Some of it excellent. He's one of the people I think is one of the best. But he makes mistakes, and this is one big mistake he's made. And so I think he if he's watching, he needs to dwell on this, and anyone who's watched his material needs to consider the evidence that we proposed here in this particular film.
Yeah, I have to say, Richard Hall, he is one of the best. I went to him because I was told he was the best. And after I looked at his Madeleine McCann stuff, I thought he was brilliant.
Excellent, yeah.
He had taken that apart forensically, minute by minute by minute. And yet, it was almost like he was trying to cover this up as quickly and as quietly as possible, without doing any investigation, without speaking to any of the witnesses. And he can say that I gave him a fake name, but I think Ben can vouch for me today that I did not. He's always known who I was and where I lived. But he never came and he never phoned.
And it's a completely irrelevant point. See, I don't know why he's dwelling on it, because it is an irrelevant point.
No, the point is that Swansea didn't know who I was either. They were able to find me from a single comment I made online. And they found over 200 pages of information since. And this last year, the information is still coming in. The investigation is not over. It's still ongoing.
So are you still in touch with some of the other witnesses to this incident?
I am, yeah.
How, I know you mentioned before that one of them in particular wants to keep quiet. I understand that. I understand if someone doesn't want to speak out. But do you think any more people will come forward anytime soon?
Well, Dave was with me. He witnessed the craft with me. In fact, the question whether or not it was a gender thing, that he could see more than I could. He was saying, "Can you see this? Can you see that?" And I was looking, but I couldn't see what he was talking about. And then I was fixated on it, touching the ground. So I don't know if it was a gender thing, being a man, if he could see something different to me, I don't know. But it certainly scared him, petrified him. We were polar opposites to each other. He was absolutely petrified, scared stiff, and I was the complete opposite, like someone had reached in and took the fear away from me. And I still feel like that today. It's the most bizarre thing.
Have you had any experiences like weird people following you around and things like that? Because that sometimes happens to witnesses like you.
I had a guy contact me via my Facebook page who said he had an interest in the case. He went by the name of Tony Buck. If you're out there, Tony, get in contact, hey.
Tony, that's Tony Buck in a movie?
No, sorry. No, it wasn't.
East Anglia UFO group?
No, it wasn't. Tony Smith, I beg your pardon. Smith, get it right. Because that obviously wasn't his real name. But he wanted to come to the fields, he wanted to meet me, he wanted to go out and have a look. I gave him the EMF meter. But he came here, he was extremely fit. Not that I got anything against fit guys, because he was too fit to have been a normal civilian. He asked very strange questions, one of which, what did I want? That's not a question that somebody would ask you if they'd just come because they've got an interest in the case. He had joined every single UFO group there was to join on Facebook, I think in an attempt to find me. Because the moment that he made contact with me, he left every single one of those groups. In fact, he's not on Facebook anymore. He used a burner phone, turned up in a very old car. But there was something about his demeanour and his passive threats. You know, aren't you worried about what's going to happen to you and your family? Didn't you know 5 people were killed in a car accident recently? That type of thing.
Scary.
I don't want anything out of this. I certainly didn't come forward for fame and fortune. I came forward to tell the truth. I can't make anyone believe me, but I have gone over and above what would normally be expected of a witness to do, because lie detectors ain't cheap. I fulfilled my duty just by telling you. You do what you want with that information, but this was real.
I think so too. Having looked at this, looked at all sides of this story, I think we are dealing with a genuine UFO incident, and a very significant one too.
Yeah.
And thank you very much, Kaz, for coming forward and speaking the truth. I really appreciate you doing that.
Thank you, Ben.
Okay. And thank you very much for taking part in this video.
Oh, brilliant. It's great to have. It was great to be here.
That's Kaz Clark, ladies and gentlemen, on her Panwo TV.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's Sunday morning. It is half past 5 in the morning, and I just arrived at Cardiff Airport. This is Cardiff International Airport at Rws in South Wales. I've just walked from the hotel. It was only 3/4 an hour because I left at 4:45. There was a lot of confusion over that about whether there was. See, on the bus on the way in, I got picked up by a lady, a female bus driver, who sort of took pity on me because I was standing by the bus stop outside the hotel. This is yesterday morning. I can't remember if I told the story. Sorry if I already have. I'm not going to edit this out. And she sort of took pity on me because I was wet and it was pouring rain. She said, "I'm not supposed to pick you up from here. We don't do pickups. You've got to go to the other side of the road or get a taxi to the airport, and that's where we go. It's a private hire company, you see. They don't charge this bus, you see. It's a Airport Express, free Airport Express." Now on the way back, I met this very nice sort of black guy, sort of with an African accent, who said, "No, good sense of humour. You know, one of those bus drivers you get to talk to a lot." And he says, "No, she does not know what she's talking about." He said, "She's wrong. It's you. See, we pick you up from there. It's just after 6 a.m. we pick you up." And I thought, because the bus leaves at 6 a.m. The thing about it is, which one's right and which one's wrong? Because if the second bus driver is wrong, the bus won't pick me up, and then the next bus is 7 a.m. and my coach leaves Cardiff at 7:45. That's my dilemma. And if I get the second bus, the 7 a.m. bus might not get me to the coach station on time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the 6 a.m. one. It'll get me to Cardiff early. I can take a slow walk to Sophia Gardens. But then I thought, how am I going to get from the hotel to the airport? And I thought I was going to get a taxi. Like, I was going to wake up about 5:30 and get a taxi. But I woke up a bit early and I thought, come on, you're an ex-hospital porter, Ben, walk. And I did. It's 3/4 an hour. Bit of a lonely walk along the long roads, along the dual carriageways, no pavement. Whenever an oncoming car came along, every couple of minutes, because it is Sunday morning, I just sort of stood on the verge, got my feet wet again. My feet are wet enough already, it doesn't really matter. So in the end I decided to go play cautious and decided to get to the airport, get the bus from the airport, which I've done. There's one leaving at 6 a.m. And so that should get me to Cardiff a bit early, but not a problem, not a big problem. But what I've done is I found this when I was coming in through the entrance. I found that, which helped me carry my luggage, and also I'll collect the little bit of money you put in there, so I'll make £1 off that, which should be cool. And then it's away to Cardiff and back home to Oxford. So see you shortly. That's very strange. Now the reason I'm filming that bus is something a bit weird just happened, a bit kind of like the Mandela effect. What it was, when I was at the airport when I was last filming, I went into the airport. I dropped the trolley off. I came back out and the bus arrived. The driver got off the bus and he went off into the airport to go to the toilet and get a cup of tea because he was a bit early. And I stood outside by the door of the bus, the one I just got off, on the left-hand front side, the near side front of the bus. And the bus driver walked off while I stood there. While I stood there on the outside the door of the bus, like I said, I never moved from that spot. I was by the door of that bus continuously. And it must have been about 10 minutes, I reckon, 10 minutes. Then suddenly, I see there's a guy, it's just windy again. There's someone on the bus. It's the driver. So what I mean is, I saw the driver walk off, towards the airport terminal building, because he wanted to go to the toilet and get a cup of tea in the airport. I didn't see him come back. He did not come back. So how did he get back on the bus? Because what I expected to happen for him to walk back and get back on the bus through the door he came off on. He went out on. Do you see what I mean? The door he left, he shut the door behind him, the sliding doors at the front for passenger access, and he walked off the terminal building. I never saw him come back and go in through those doors again. Next thing I know, he's in the bus. He's on board the bus. I see him moving around. The door's open, and he says, "Come aboard now. You can come aboard now. I'm ready to go." About 10 minutes later, and I never moved from that spot. I never moved from that spot by the front of the bus. So how did he get back in? How did the driver come back from the terminal building and get back into the bus without me seeing him? It's one of those spooky sort of things. Now, the reason I filmed the bus just now, because now it's windy again, hang on. The reason I filmed the bus, as you just saw me filming round the side of the bus, I wanted to see if there were any other entrances, and there's one other door to that bus. It's on the right hand side, and it is an emergency exit, but it can only be opened from the inside. I saw it because I sat in the seat beside it. There's a big lever that says pull, and a big warning sign that says only to be used in a emergency. And it's got no handle on the outside. It can't be opened from the outside. And why would he? See, why would he go in through the emergency door? Not just how did he, but why would he? So it's windy again, and you might be getting rain on the lens again. Hang on. Yeah, hold on a sec. Oh, I'll just wipe the lens clean. One of those very weird things. Hang on. Oh, look at the mess here. Disgusting. Dirty Welsh bastards. Sorry, I am a Welsh bastard. So that was one of those weird sort of Mandela effect things. I can't, because it's like, how do I describe it? It's like I went into another world where he's still on the bus. Do you see what I mean? It's like a Mandela effect. I honestly can't explain that, unless he somehow managed to get the emergency door open and got in that way. He managed to get the emergency door open, which has a single-use lever on one side and no handle on the outside at all, and managed to get back in that way. In which case, why would he? Why would he use the emergency exit to get back into the bus? He got off the bus. He actually got off the bus and shut the sliding doors at the front, and he said, "I'm just going off to just going to nip inside, use the loo and have a cuppa." He said. He said, "I can't let you on the bus right now because there's no driver." And I said, "Okay, I'll wait outside." And there was a shelter, it's not a problem. And it wasn't raining at the time anyway. I'm baffled because then suddenly, next thing I know, I look around, he's on the bus. Weird. I mean, if you can think of an explanation for that other than some kind of Mandela effect, please let me know. Very odd. Anyway, I'm back in our nation's capital, and it is a shithole at the moment. Look at that. The streets are covered in mess. There's a big game yesterday. I saw lots when I got off the bus from Pentyrch. Loads of people wearing rugby colours. Loads of Welsh colours. Few Australians were there too, with their flags and their yellow booty hats. I mean, in rugby, you see, you can do that. You can socialise with the enemy. It's not a problem, because it's only in football you get the violence and the bad feeling. You see what I mean? But it was a bit of mayhem. Yeah, a lot of mayhem. Look at the place. Look at it. My goodness me. The dustbins are overflowing, and Cardiff is a bit of a tip at the moment. Oxford never gets this bad. Mind you, we don't have a big sports ground. We don't have a big sports ground with where they have major international sports events, unlike Cardiff, which is one of the sporting capitals of the world. Oh, well, I'm now, as you see, it's still dark. It's goodness me, it's 7:15. My coach leaves in an hour. It's 7:15 and it's still dark. I mean, it's like, well, obviously the cloudy sky makes it darker than it would be normally, but this time of year it's a bit depressing. It's the sort of lack of sunlight, the lack of daylight is a bit depressing, I find. And I always get these sort of like get that feeling. In fact, yesterday I was in a bit of a rush. The filming I did yesterday with Kaz and Gary, I was in a bit of a rush to get it done because I wanted to visit the various places before the sunset, basically. So when we went up to, we managed to get a lift off Gary's dad to Smalloak Woods, and if it hadn't been for him, I wouldn't have been able to get there. I wouldn't have been able to reach it. We got to Smalloak Woods and did the filming before the sunset, which is nice. The rest of the stuff I could do with Kaz in the pub, so that's not a problem. But it's been a good weekend. It's been a good movie. I've enjoyed this. So it's nice to meet Kaz and Gary, and I met Gary before, but at Sufon. But it's nice to meet them again, and nice to meet Kaz for the first time. Great to talk to them. Very interesting story they told me. They told me a few things that I couldn't actually film, a few private and confidential things, which may come out at some point. But I think it adds to the seriousness of Kaz's story and the likelihood that it's true, and I think it is true. Anyway, it's raining again and the camera's getting wet, so I'm going to make my way slowly, have a slow walk up to Sophia Gardens, have a stroll around the park for an hour in the early hours of the morning, and then get on the coach and go home. Okay, I'm in Butte Park now, and the sun is rising, and there's this little river here, and I hear the gongs. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Don't know if you heard that. That's the church bells ringing. And it's now 7 AM. Oh, look at this river. It's really full, actually, this little river. It's been raining hard for now. It's the third day of non-stop rain. And that there is Cardiff Castle from the other side. I'm now heading slowly towards Sophia Gardens, which is somewhere in the direction that I'm going. And I'm going to catch my coach, which for some reason has to go to Birmingham. I don't know why. The one I got on coming here, of course, stopped at Bristol, if you remember, which is more direct. For some reason I'm going all the way to Birmingham to get a coach to go all the way to Oxford. It's sort of like a dog leg. I don't know why. That's the vagaries of National Express, but still beats the train any day. It's quite nice now because it's early morning and the sun is rising. Well, the sun is rising somewhere behind the clouds, and I'm going to stop raining for a bit, actually. I'm going to take a slow walk, and my feet are soaking wet. The good thing about these like daps that I'm wearing, these pumps, is that they get wet very easily, but they dry very easily too. So once I'm on the coach, I'm in the dry. They dry off pretty quick. I was thinking about wearing my work boots, which are sort of a bit more waterproof, because I knew I'd need them. But to be honest, it's easier just to wear these and let them dry off and get just washed, because you can wash them when you get home. These shoes you can actually just put in the washing machine. They're really, really easy to clean. I thought, what the hell? I'll just get wet feet for a couple of days. It's just simpler, because I've got to wear my work boots on Monday. Tomorrow when I go to work, so better this way, I think. It's really nice. Look at the autumn colours. It's really lovely. I'm getting a bit Slaxery now, aren't I? I still watch Slaxy, you know, on Facebook. He just posts his videos there now. Oh look, it's lovely. It's beautiful. Okay. Look at that old tree. My goodness me. That's got to be as old as Cardiff itself. And here I am, this is the bridge. This is the bridge I first arrived on 2 days ago. This is the River Taff. And I'm heading to the coast station. And there, of course, you can see the Millennium Stadium and the majesty of the Cardiff skyline. I've walked through the park and it's been lovely. So now, I've got to find where the coach stops. Bit of a complicated area, this. Okay, so yeah, it's been fun. It's been a good visit. I just hope my coach is on time now. I'm in Birmingham now. There's a lovely sound of church bells. Hear that? Hope you can hear that. It's coming from that church over there, the spire there. Now I was here a few months ago, and I said something which a lot of people find quite alarming. I told everyone that I was an alien trapped in a human body, and I should explain, and a lot of people have demanded I explain exactly what I meant by that. Maybe I should. I think what I meant was that it's the conclusion I've had to reach because the average human behaviour is so different to my own. It's so extremely different. I have to wonder whether I am really human. See, am I or am I something else? Maybe I'm something else that's not human. You see what I mean? So that's it. Kind of what I meant. Maybe I'll go into that in more detail in a future movie, but that's what I meant basically. I think it's the troll crisis essentially is what led me to believe that. The fact that not only the trolls seem to be vast in number, they're far more in number than I thought, but that they're tolerated and pandered to more than I ever imagined they would be, and that's been really one of the biggest disappointments of my life. That's the big. That's the reason, I think. But it's completely alien to me. That whole attitude. So if that's alien to me, if that kind of mindset is that alien, then possibly what if it's the other way around? Maybe I've misjudged the situation. What if the alien is actually me? And it's the trolls and the troll appeasers and the true troll tolerators are actually human. See what I mean? That's kind of what I meant by that, I think. But I don't know. I've got this implant in my arm as well. Maybe there's something there, which is another reason why. Oh bloody hell! Look at this. Is this to stop people lying there? Because sometimes they put these things in to stop people lying down, homeless people and that, and that's really cruel. They have spikes, special spikes put up to stop people sleeping in certain places. It's a really cruel way to treat homeless people. Anyway, I'm heading towards the bullshit ring, or as it's known, but it's really the bull ring, and its centrepiece is this great big strange thing covered with these silver Smarties. I'm going to go in there. I've got to get my coach at 11, so I'm just going to have a quick wander around and do some window shopping before I go back. You can hear that. Oh, they've got the Christmas tree out already. Of course. Look at that, the sun's out. Now the sun has to come out. After 3 days of continuous rain, while I was UFO spotting in Wales, now it has to start, sun has to start shining me a blue sky. Do you know what? Birmingham looks very different right now with the sun out and church bells ringing in the background. It actually looks quite pleasant. Yeah, it's really nice actually. Maybe I misjudged Birmingham. Maybe it's actually not such a bad place. So apologies to anyone from Birmingham and their city that I misjudged. Well, I'm back in Oxford. Yeah, mission accomplished. I've returned now to my hometown from my old homeland. And, wow, fascinating 48 hours I've spent, slightly longer than that, away from home. And meeting my friends in Wales and talking to them about UFOs. Now, having looked at this in detail now, looking at this case in detail now, I maintain what I said earlier. It is a significant case. I've been thinking about it on the coach home. I haven't read a book or anything. I've just been going over it in my head actually. This probably is major possibly on the scale of the Nottinghamshire Roswell in terms of the things I've looked into. And I say look into, I mean, I'm not actually the investigator here, it's Gary Jones who's the investigator, and other people at SUFON as well. So I'm just sort of reporting it. This is just a documentary that I'm making. I'm kind of a filmmaker, I'm just making a documentary. But yeah, I mean, Kaz came across as very sincere. She's eloquent, very articulate, and she's positive, and her story is one she's stuck by. I've heard her relate her story of her encounter several times now, and she does it consistently, and the details haven't changed. She reminds me very much of Jessie Rustenberg. I don't know if you've ever seen the video. If you Google her name, the surname is Roestenburg. If you Google that name, you'll see a clip from there's several clips. The most interesting one is one that was in a 1977 documentary about UFOs. She talks about an encounter she had, and it's often thought of as one of the best witness testimonies that has ever been collected. And I think I would compare Kaz's testimony to that as well. Now you could say, well, we can't just take Kaz's word for it. No, we can't. However, there's additional evidence too. The forensic evidence that Gary has gathered in terms of the EMF. There's the strange deaths of plants and things like that in the area. There is also the fact that several other people back up her story. I mean, hopefully the other witnesses she was with that night will come forward as well, because so far they haven't spoken. It's only Kaz who's spoken. But there are other people in Pentyrch who remember strange things going on. They were like the barmaid at the pub I spoke to. She remembers. There's the chemtrail central there. So where was I? Getting distracted again. Yeah, she remembers the strange people in the field. She remembers all the aircraft flying around on the night of this alleged military exercise. And she also remembers the strange people in the field, which she thought they were a film crew, because apparently an episode of Doctor Who had been filmed up in that area in the land around Pentyrch. I don't know, I stopped watching Doctor Who long ago, so I'm not sure which one it is. It really went down our hill after David Tennant, and the new one certainly doesn't appeal to me. But maybe Whovians out there who watch my programme can enlighten me over which episode that was. But she thought it was them again, just filming again. These people in the tents wearing strange clothes and that. That's so what's the explanation? Now obviously I don't believe it's something that Kaz made up. She's got no motive to make it up. I know she doesn't sound like someone who's spinning a yarn, and I know what yarn spinners sound like. I can sense it intuitively when someone's been a bit of making stuff up, relating something from their imagination rather than their actual memory. I don't think it was a military exercise. Now I know this is one place. Again, I don't want to keep. This is not a film about Richard E. Hall, but the Rich Planet show about this I have to tackle. Me and Kaz, of course, mentioned Richard. Richard did cover this, but I think he's incorrect. And in fact, his own coverage of it fell short of his usual standards, because, as I said, Richard, when Richard gets things right, he really does get them right. And he's one of the best guys in the business, I would say. The Madeleine McCann investigation, things like that, and the other things he's done to do with the secret space program, 9/11 and stuff, the stuff he's done with Andrew Johnson, top-notch stuff. But he makes mistakes. I think he's made a mistake about David Icke, and I did write a little piece about his program on David Icke, which I thought was full of errors. And this is another one. I think this is another thing he's got wrong, and you can almost sense it in the actual Rich Planet show that he does, because he always feels he's kind of being a bit half-hearted. If subconsciously he knows there's something wrong with his position. So, for example, if you watch it, it's almost like a holiday video. He goes on his bike, he rides around the countryside, he talks to a man who's got homing pigeons, he sits in his tent and he has a rant about Brexit. Brexit is another thing he gets wrong in my view, but whether it's right or wrong, it's irrelevant. And then he witnesses another drill that was going on at the Royal Mint, a real one this time, involving the local police, and he hears gunshots and there's fire and there's smoke coming up and explosions. It's just a drill. Very different to what was described, of course, by the people at the Royal Glamorgan Hospital. But now Richard, that's one thing Richard gets wrong. I have a feeling Richard's about to make another really big mistake, and I'll say more about that when he does. But yeah, I think it's about to come up. So we'll come back to that later. So I don't think it was a drill. It's based on, I mean, you heard my discussions with Kaz. You've seen the documentation that she's looked into. I've been following her stuff on Facebook about her dialogue with the authorities at the Royal Glamorgan. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't fit in with what I, especially with my own experience of dealing with military exercises at my hospital. The lack of a paper trail, things like that. The explosions which rocked the entire building. And she's played me several audio clips I can't actually repeat to you because they're private, but she basically recorded several discussions she's had with other people on this matter, unknowing to them. She also found a strange object actually at the place, the ball patch, the place where the what looked like electrical discharges hit the ground. As I say, I don't know that that's what they look like. I'm not sure that's exactly what they are, especially when you see the active tree deaths and things like that. It's not burns, they're deaths. But anyway, the object, it looks like something from a crystal shop, but it's clearly metallic. It's metal. It's dark in colour. And again, this is not something she would let me film or photograph. That's because it is being analysed at the moment. But it's like a piece of metal, so about 2 inches across, 1.5 inches wide. Strangely symmetrical, actually, even though it's clearly sort of crystallised or it's subjected to heat. So that's another thing that was found there. That's not the sort of thing you normally find lying in a field. There may be other explanations for that, but I suspect it might have something to do with the object, the craft. So if it was a real object, what was it? If this pyramidal tetrahedral thing was a real object, I say tetrahedral because it had triangles on all 4 sides rather than having a flat side and 4 triangles, which is what a pyramid is. So if it is something not of this world, or if it's not something real, what is it now? Richard's, I think we were discussing Richard's ideas that this might be some kind of secret technology, which would explain why there was a presence in the area. It would solve this biggest mystery. The biggest mystery of this whole event is that why were there aircraft flying around? Why were there soldiers and other people nearby, close enough to get into the area immediately, very, very quickly after the thing appeared? That's a big mystery to do with Berwyn Mountains as well, and with the Nottinghamshire case. The very fast government response meant for some reason they knew in advance that something was going to happen. They somehow knew in advance something was going to happen. So it was like maybe the aliens phoned them up and said, "Oh, we got a Duff UFO heading your way. It's going to sort of hit somewhere in South Wales, not sure exactly where, but keep an eye out for us, will you, lads?" Or maybe that's what they did. Maybe the aliens phoned up Theresa May and said that. I don't know. But for some reason they knew in advance. And if it was one of ours, so to speak, like an anti-gravity craft from the secret space program, that would explain it. But it wouldn't explain why it was there, unless it had gone wrong or something like that. And it also doesn't resemble, Kaz's description doesn't resemble the actual descriptions given by insiders, people like Ed Fouché, people like that, which leads me to believe it's probably extraterrestrial. That's more likely, much more likely in my view. I mean, Richard's, in his last show actually with Andrew Johnson, he was saying he'd revised a lot of his views on several things, for instance the Berwyn Mountains UFO. which was actually a large spherical shaped object that was glowing. He says that might have been some kind of anti-gravity drive, similar to the thing on this DART craft. That if you've watched program 236 of Rich Planet, check that out. I think it's 236. He said that could be a very large one for an extremely large craft, like a starship or something that, you know, man-made, but has sort of come loose the way this thing did in East Germany. This DART, like the spherical object in the spherical power unit of the power plant of the DART, came out and was bouncing all over the place and had to be caught. Maybe the Berry Mountains UFO was a large version of that. Well, that's again, I think Richard is speculating. We don't know. We don't know what it is. It's best to leave it in the don't know category. I think it's probably best to leave it in the don't know category. And that's kind of where the Pentyrch object is for me. Although I would say more likely the fact it appeared, the way it emerged and the way it disappeared, and the fact that its shape and its behaviour leads me to say extraterrestrial. It's not man-made, extraterrestrial, interdimensional, whatever you choose to call it. It's made by a non-human intelligence. That's kind of the way I see it. But all in all, absolutely fascinating case. I really think it's serious, something we should all take seriously. And I want to say thanks to Kaz Clark for talking to me, thanks to Gary Jones for showing me around and for talking to me as well, and for both of them for showing me the areas where this happened. I think the fact that there was a much shorter time period between the event happening and investigation beginning is a good indicator that it makes it more likely there'll be a solution. The bugbear of UFOs, to use Nick Pope's phrase, of UFO research, is the long gap between the event happening and research beginning. On Roswell it was 31 years, you know, it's like, it can be even longer in some cases. But by the time the researchers got going, you know, memories have faded, some of the witnesses have died, etc., etc. This is different. This is barely less than 3 years ago, and that's a good sign. It means that the cycle of event and research contact is narrowing. I mean, it was close. It was similar with Rendlesham Forest. It was just 3 years, but it's actually narrowing now. It's slowing down. It's getting shorter. So that's a good sign. It's a step towards disclosure. It's a step towards the weight of evidence being so overwhelming that it can no longer be denied. So we're getting closer and closer to a solution to this mystery, I think. So I take my hat off to the people who've helped this happen. People like Kaz, people like Gary, for coming forward in this way. Much appreciated. And Richard as well, to his credit, even though I think he's gone down a wrong path, he has actually helped Kaz get the word out, because it was thanks to him allowing her to speak on the stage at his event that basically the story broke. So Richard, well done Richard for that. And I hope Richard will hopefully come around and see this differently. I think he will. He's a wise chap. He'll see things differently. All right, now I'm going across the famous Woodland Bridge. I'm going to go home now, and there's going to be some more videos coming soon. I'm off to Newcastle to speak at Truth Seekers North East. If you're doing anything next Saturday, that's Saturday the 17th, please do come to the Ray Gray Community Centre in the afternoon, starting I think about midday, where I'll be speaking along with Sir Mark Hockin and Richard Wright. Do get to that if you can. And I've got some other plans for other videos as well. I'll be making a video about the Rendlesham Forest incident as well, coming up soon, related to Rich Planet TV, because Rich Planet TV are covering it now. I think I might have to cover it too as a kind of response to that. There'll probably be an article as well on Hapanwo Voice. But In the meantime, it's been a good couple of days. I've learned something, and I've helped you guys learn something as well. I think I've helped spread the word about this particular case. And thank you very, very much, all of you, for watching. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order.